Welcome, welcome, everyone. Oh. How's everyone doing? We're good. We're ready to rock and roll. I hope you are too, for what is no doubt going to be a very interesting US Grand Prix. I have updated Nightbot. Don't worry, Dan. It'll be Nightbot doesn't activate a mod while I think the stream isn't live, so don't worry. It'll be fine. There you go. See. Nightbot has just purged. Nightbot has just purged. Sorry, I just had a little bit of a cough there. I'm getting better by the day, Miriam. Thank you for asking. Yeah, so the cough, as I said, just a little niggly cough is still lingering and is subsiding. So yeah, thankfully the voice is still good. That's the main important thing. And we will be able to provide you some great coverage today. The Ferrari shirt is on as well. Yep, exactly. Where to find my layout? I think you can share layouts on Multiviewer. I'll have to check if you can. But let me see if I can. There might be a way that you can share it, but I can't share it right this moment in time, I think so. Super Formula's crying out for me, Alfie. I know. I haven't sim raced for a while actually. I've been enjoying playing Battlefield in the meantime, just in my downtime. So, am I supporting Max for the rest of the season? I'm supporting him in the sense of making this championship spicy. I'm not really supporting him. The only driver I actively support is Lewis. I've said that before. So, but yeah. Did I see him on their beach buggies? I did indeed, yeah. Very American. Monster buggies, wasn't they, really? They weren't quite monster cars, but they were monster buggies, pretty much. Battlefield 6 is nice, yeah. I don't drink tea. No, I don't drink tea. Or don't drink tea alone. No, but I don't drink tea either. I know, a Brit that doesn't drink tea. I'm more of a coffee man. So, this is decaf, though. Decaf. Because it's not late in the evening, but it's 7 p.m. right now in the UK. So, I need to be able to sleep later. Do I think Ferrari is going to win a GP this year at all? Said it before. They need something to happen in front of them. They need some assistance, just like what a few drivers got yesterday with the sprint race. That is what Charles needs, because the overall race pace for the Ferrari just isn't good enough. Of course, we'll have a look at the strategy options for today, guys, the tyre allocations, or everything that is worthy of keeping a note of in relation to this race today, because it's going to be an interesting one, I think. You want a championship separated by less than 10 points in Abu Dhabi between the three. That'd be amazing. I said before, in my ideal world, I'd like to see, I mean, the more the merrier, but yes, I'd like to see, I've said it for a while, Oscar and Lando being separated by less than 7 points in the last race, because then it's pretty much winner takes all. That is basically what the last race will come down to. But of course, it doesn't necessarily mean that whoever wins that they'll necessarily win that race. So, how am I today? I'm very well, Amber. Yeah, we're very well, thank you. 1245 DNF Signs takes it. Do I drink beer? I do drink beer. I'm more of a cider man, to be honest. I like my cider more than I like my lager. I'm a bit of a wimp when it comes to drinking beer. I need to have like a top, like a lemonade top, to sweeten it up a little bit. So, breaking news: Max has been disqualified after I said that he's supporting stuff. He said he's supporting Max. No. Do not believe that. Is there clarification on repercussions for Lando? So, there has been one source who's come out and said that they know and what the information is. Now, Canal Plus TV, that's the Spanish broadcaster for F1, the commentators came out and said they have gained information that Oscar, and this is what someone said in chat yesterday, and we briefly spoke about it, that Oscar has been given priority of order in qualifying for the rest of the season, bearing in mind. For the rest of the season. Now, that is only one source. I haven't seen anywhere else, but it's been verified. But that's not on, in my personal opinion. That's that's just, we know how important qualifying is. And to give him preference, Oscar Piastri, for what Lando did in Singapore, which I don't think was egregious anyway. I think it's one race, maybe. One race. I mean, I don't think there should be repercussions anyway, but the rest of the season? That's ridiculous, but anywho. But welcome, everyone. Welcome for tuning in. Good to see you all. Hope you're ready for this evening. Thank you, Ronin, by the way. Much appreciated. Always appreciate the kind words in relation to the live streams and the commentating, etc. The fact that we get the returning viewership that we do for every single race weekend it really does make me proud of the community and the place that we have created here. So yeah, big thank you, guys. But yeah, that's supposedly what it is. And look, Martin Brundle, and I think it probably is true, because Martin Brundle did say, "Oh, I know, but I'm not going to tell you what the information is," which was absolutely ridiculous and rolled me up anyway. As I saw many people online, it also rolled them up. And they had similar thoughts that I also had. They echoed similar thoughts. That I think it's his duty to tell us, as he works for Sky, and he's technically a journalist now and a pundit, not necessarily... I mean, is it really sort of the information that should be kept privy behind closed doors when it affects the viewing experience in the championship? I don't think so. I think as fans, we have a right to know that information. And he said it's something that you won't even notice, and it may be, and he mentioned Vegas. He said it's something you won't even notice, and maybe brought up that maybe it may happen in Vegas or not. So clearly it indicates that it's more than just one race, I think. So thank you, Margus. Who is my top 3 for today? So I said before, I do think I still have question marks around the tyre management of the Red Bull. Yes, the Red Bull has definitely made strides forward and has closed the gap to the McLaren. However, as I keep reiterating, the past 3 races we have been to, there has been little to no degradation, no tyre management at all in those races at Monza, at Baku, and at Singapore. And that is where primarily the strength of the McLaren has lied throughout this season, is in their tyre management. They're able to go faster for longer, and I think what we may see today is Norris win this race, not necessarily at the first corner, but I think it may be a waiting game. I think Verstappen and Norris, if all be good, the first corner is clean. They'll pull away from the field. Charles will probably fall off, because if he's that Ferrari, I just don't have confidence that Ferrari is still a decent race car. I'm not getting pulled into the hype that he is P3 and could have been P2 yesterday. But I think that's what's going to happen. And it's just going to be a waiting game of looking after those tyres, waiting for Max to pit, or maybe doing the undercut. And we'll see maybe a battle out on track eventually, or Max's tyres will fall off. It could be that Max's tyres and the Red Bull actually, they've sorted out that issue. But I think that's still, for me personally, the big question mark that needs to be answered here today, is that tyre management in that Red Bull. And Max was complaining about it in the sprint race yesterday, that the rear was getting squirrely, and George Russell had a go at him on 5-lap older tyres, and he only had a certain amount of laps of opportunity, which is why he went for that Hail Mary, that big send. But if he was on if he was on the same age of tyre, brand new tyres, I think George could have got Max yesterday, or at least made a decent battle of it, a decent fight of it, because, yeah, he wasn't happy. So we'll see if they've sorted out that issue today, because it's going to be intriguing. Because let's head, shall we, to the timing screens. Is time management going to be instrumental in... instrumental here? I think it is today. Yeah, I really do think it is going to be. Right. So we've got that. Drivers on recon lap. They're not quite on their recon laps just yet, but we'll leave that there. And then we have the DRS zones as well, which I will just hide for the moment. So it's still possible for Max for championship because of 2021 Lewis. Yeah, of course it is. It's still possible. He's still in it. What do I think about the T1 incident? Looked at it, and honestly, it just looked like typical Coke of T1 shenanigans. I think it is that, but you can also predominantly place the blame on a driver. I don't think it was worth a penalty. I think it was a very risky move to make, but I don't think it was anything untoward there. He wasn't out of control of his car. It wasn't an illegal move, per se. It was just maybe, I don't know, even a lack of experience there, that just he was fully focused on Lando ahead and racing Lando, forgetting that there were, so many cars behind him and they would be occupying that space that he was trying to cut back into. So whereas maybe a more experienced driver who's raced in multiple times and found themselves in that position a few more times than Oscar has done, as it's only his third time racing here in F1, he will probably next time around learn from that and not do it. So I think you can put the blame fully on Piastri there, but I think you can also say that was a racing incident. To penalise it and to give him a penalty for it, I think is to deter racing at the first corner. We want to see moves like that. If he pulled it off, then it would have been a great move because he probably would have got the run on Lando. It was as it was. You could see what his execution was and his thought process was, and that's probably a move that we'll see multiple times today as well into that first corner with the cutback, but maybe not on the first lap. Tyres is everything here, Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I do agree. Medium and soft. So we will have a look at the strategy options soon. We're going to wait for the drivers to make their reconnaissance laps and see if there's any shenanigans that unfold. But yeah, we're going to keep an eye on that today. And then we'll have a look at the strategy options, the tyre allocations, and the weather as well. I mean, look, there's a step in compounds today from the hard to the medium. So I think it goes from the C. I don't know what we're on actually, but the hard compound tyre, Pirelli have tried to deter away from the use of the hard compound tyre so that we're on the cusp of basically the medium soft being used. And they think that it will be a medium to soft strategy today, with a 2-stop or potentially on a cusp of a 1-stop. Some of them trying the 1-stop. So we will see. But they have said that the hard compound tyre did seem to be performing better than they expected. So that may put people to try the hard compound tyre and go very long here. So we will see. Of course, we'll have a look at the tyre allocations or the strategy options very shortly to see exactly what we may expect here today. And of course, don't rule out safety cars. We have seen safety cars here in the past, and don't rule out red flags either. Morning, Alan. Good to see you, mate. But then Lando didn't need a priority for quali, did he? So maybe not as significant a punishment as it looks. No, but look, you want every single advantage you possibly can get in Formula 1. And I would not be too happy if I was told that because of that move in Singapore, I have to give up priority placements, priority in the order when it comes to qualifying. Because it will matter at some tracks. It will do between now and the end of the season. And I just think that's utterly ridiculous for a driver who's trying to win his first World Drivers' Championship, as is Oscar Piastri, but went for a move in a gap that... I mean, I personally don't see anything wrong with the move in Singapore. I know people will be pissed off if they're Oscar Piastri, and I know it's the whole papaya rules situation has put them in that position and brought up this hoo-ha anyway with repercussions and so forth. But for me, I just don't think at any day of the week that is punishable in an inter-team battle. I just don't think it is. So, is it windy or better than yesterday? It's about the same, to be fair. It's a westerly wind at the moment, so supposedly it is a headwind into the S's. That's what they're saying. Now, Max did say yesterday that the wind was a bit of a different direction when it came to qualifying, which made things quite difficult, which is why the track slowed. But of course, the wind does pick up here, and we have seen moments from drivers in qualifying already and in the sprint race. So yeah, as we expect, I do expect this to be a 1-stop today, whether that be the hard or the medium to the soft. And well, these drivers are going to have to do quite a bit of managing, and it's going to make things interesting because not everyone is good at managing their tyres. Does Hadjar have a chance to earn points starting from the back? Never say never. This is a track where you can overtake if there is carnage. We saw yesterday Yuki Tsunoda make up 11 positions at that first corner. So that level of carnage can occur again at a circuit like here, Circuit of the Americas. So never say never. Always knew I was not a team player, Ant. Oh, sure, Lando will be pissed as am I, but control the controllables as the F1 mantra grows. True. My pleasure, Peter. I love streaming for you all, so it's good to see you all. You're at the circuit, Lee, and your ticket isn't working, and they're not refunding it or anything. What? Do everything that you can to try and get in. Andrew, looking forward to my company for the race. Papaya Rules created this problem a long time ago when they saw... Exactly, yeah. This is something that we said was going to rear its ugly head at some point later on in the season, didn't we? The whole grandstand area would have been standing ovation as he passed if Piastri had pulled that one off. Yeah, it would, probably. I mean, it would have been a great move. It would have been a very good move. And look, ultimately, I have seen people blame Lando for the situation. No. No, look, if Lando did get a decent start, that whole scenario would have played out very differently. But no, it's not Lando's fault. Lando actually defended quite well, really. He made sure he was ahead at the apex. He got ahead of his teammate. And yeah, he forced his teammate into that position. And he just ended up being very unlucky that Piastri's car caught him. So, thanks, Mr. Chili. Isn't the two-stop with mediums faster than the one-stop with medium and hard? Well, I think that is the preference and what Pirelli are trying to aim to do when it comes to the tyre selection compounds for this week. So they have skipped a compound. So we have, I can't remember what tyres we have here this weekend, but I think it's something like, let's say it's a C2, then the C2 is the hard compound tyre, then it goes to the C4 rather than the C3 being the medium. So the idea is that the hard compound tyre is so slow that it's quicker to do a two-stop. Or try and do some tyre management. And the best races that we have is when there's tyre offset. So when we have the half of the field or a lot of the field try that one-stop, eke out the one-stop, and then we have those who go more aggressive on the two-stop. That's where we have the best racing. So hopefully that's what we see here today, rather than just DRS trains. That wind isn't super bad, but it's going to be a problem for Sector 2. Yeah, I think that's where they're saying it is, and that's where we have seen moments of oversteer in particular. Did anyone catch the ghost lap of... Norsey not racing today? No, he's not, Casey. Did anyone catch the ghost lap of the qualifying for the pole position with Lando and Max? So basically, if you look at it, all the time is lost in the first... Technically, I don't think it's the first sector, but it's the second sector. So the second sector runs from around turn 6. And it's this section of corners here, turns 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Those corners is where Lando loses so much time to Max. He has a bit of a moment through turn 7, I think it is. And it means his car is out of position when it comes to the entry of turn 8. Max is so much more wider and covering the curb through turn 8 into turn 9 that he's able to get on throttle so much quicker and carry more speed, whereas Lando is more acute because he finds himself out of position because of the rear instability that he got. So that's really where that 3 temps, whatever it was, or 2.5 temps was, that Max made up on Lando. Yeah, and if that happens in the race, then with DRS, a long DRS section down from turn 11 to turn 12, then you will be vulnerable to an overtake. So, morning, Moon. Good to see you. Can someone hear coughing? Was that the missus coughing? Don't think it was me. It's C1, C3, C4. Thank you, AKC. Thank you. So yes, okay. So we're on the harder end, and that does make sense. That does make sense. Because it is a track where time management is required. They're saying it's not working. I'm currently talking to the officials. They're saying it's looking like I could get in. Fingers crossed, Lee. Fingers crossed. So we have a green light for the reconnaissance laps here, guys. Do not fear. The race is not underway. They are just making their way round to their grid slots to do a couple of reconnaissance laps, get their eye in on the circuit, make sure all systems are checked and good to go, and get a feel of what the weather conditions are and the track state is at the moment, and then they'll line up on their grid slots. And once they've done that, we will have a look at the strategy options and the tyre allocations for today's race. The pit stop lost time and all of that important information for keeping an eye out on today's race, the gaps, etc. Norris was fighting the car through Sector 2. Yes, exactly, Liam. That's exactly where he was. It was particularly this section here, which I think is where Sector 2 starts. Sector 1 is pretty much all the way like halfway into the S's. Then Sector 2, the start of Sector 2 is where he had trouble. It's where you see the car have a bit of a moment, and he just finds himself out of position. And I can speak from experience only in the simulator that those couple of corners are so important. The car positioning is so important to be able to get on throttle. You can lose and gain so much time if your car is out of position or in the correct position through particularly turn 8 over turn 9. You can gain so much. Hoping Lee gets in and converts the whole area to subscribers for Stuffeyy. I hope so. I hope so, Els. That'd be amazing. Of course, word of mouth is very important, guys. And yeah, we are trying to hit 65,000, another milestone. We hit 60,000 subs last time around. So big thank you. I think we've already had 500 subs for the past couple of days. So yeah, this community, this channel is continuing to grow. So big thank you to you all for continuing to tune in. And if you keep tuning in and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please do. It'd be much appreciated. It brings me closer to making this a full-time career for you and bringing more content. Of course, I struggle to get more content in during the week because I still have a full-time job, but I have to go to pay the bills and etc. And of course, I have little one as well. I have a 1-year-old that I want to spend quality time with. So yeah, there you go. There's someone who's already achieved 100,000 subscribers, Danny Lee. If you want some good sim racing tutorials as well and some great sim racing reviews, go check out Danny. Good to see you, mate. So yeah, big thank you, guys. How many subs before this gets serious? To be perfectly honest with you, Alan, to be frank, sub count doesn't actually mean a lot. So there are people who are on less subs than me doing things that are a completely different topic that do this as a full-time career. Primarily for the use of sponsors and partnerships. That's where you make YouTube a full-time career. Yes, I earn... I call it pocket money pretty much. It's pocket money from the ad revenue from these live streams, but it's nowhere near enough to support myself, my family, and pay a mortgage, etc. From just that ad revenue alone. So it's the sponsorships and the partnerships, which I am actively trying to do in the meantime. That's the hard work that you guys don't see, and that's where most YouTube channels will be able to do things full time. But subscriber count is an indication of that what you're doing is successful and that people like your content and they continue to tune into it. So if people can see a growing community and other figures that go with it as well, there's other analytics that I get from YouTube, and that puts you in a much stronger position when it comes to trying to gain those partnerships and sponsorships. So yeah, that's what you need to do this full time, really. You can't just live off of ad revenue. You can live off ad revenue if you've got millions of subscribers, because you can post anything and you'll get hundreds of thousands of views. That's great. But for someone of my size and many others as well of similar sizes, you wouldn't be able to survive purely off ad revenue. I should speak with Formula E. They love the social stuff and they probably sponsor you to chat about their races for streams and stuff. Maybe. I don't know about Formula E, to be honest with you. I'm not passionate about Formula E, and that's the thing. That's obviously an income is an income, but at the same time, I want to do something I'm passionate about, and I'm passionate about F1. That's not to say I wouldn't get passionate about other motorsports, but Formula E is just something that, with due respect, I've just never truly been interested in. So, thank you, Garda, much appreciated. Yeah, thank you for all the kind messages, guys. But that's just a little bit of an insight there into really what it takes to be a YouTube, and some niches, some genres that people cover, you'll be able to go full time a lot sooner than, of course, other ones, as an example. So like financial channels earn a lot more money even in ad revenue than what a gaming channel does, as an example. So yeah, it's a bit of a minefield, YouTube. It's not as easy as people make it out to be. It's hard work, and I started my channel covering primarily sim racing, and of course, so it's all related. I started this channel 4 years ago, so this growth hasn't happened overnight. And I started these watches. This is my fourth year of doing watchalongs. So yeah, you don't get. It's hard work to grow a community and to stick at it and be passionate about it and stuff. So Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. I have 25 million views. How much money did you make? Not a lot. Not a lot, because also a lot of those views come from shorts as well. So that's the thing. There's more to it than just views and just subscribers, because shorts generally get more views than a video. And yeah, it's interesting. I've had some conversations with some people, like the podcast scene and stuff, and there is money to be made out there, but it's like anything. You just need to kind of get your foot in the door. Once someone takes an opportunity with you, and I feel like it's one of those things, then other opportunities present themselves as well. So just got to keep at it. Ultimately, I love what I do. I'd love to do more sim racing streams as well, Mike, of course. But it's just time, obviously, with little one and working full time. If this was full time, then it would free up more time to do more content for you, sim racing streams during the week, etc. and stuff. And that's not to say that it isn't going to happen. Hopefully it does. If we continue on the path that we're on, it will happen sooner rather than later. So yeah. You're staying up late and dad. Oh, well, yeah, shh, don't tell mum and dad. Don't tell mum and dad. Hopefully it's a good race for you to stay up for. So drivers are on their reconnaissance laps. I did hear someone say, why are drivers out there 30 minutes before the race starts? Well, you don't normally see this on the TV coverage because they'll go to adverts and stuff, but basically they are exiting the pit lane and they have to make their way round to their grid start positions somehow. So they don't just wheel them all the way out of a gap in the pit wall. Nope, they get them out there and they do a couple of what's called reconnaissance laps, recon laps. And it's a chance, it's a couple of laps and an opportunity for the drivers to make sure, and the engineers to make sure, that the car is working in fit order. And there's nothing that they have to check when it comes to the starting grid and doing the whole starting procedure and getting the car ready for the race. And it's also an opportunity for the drivers to get their eye in on circuit and see how the track state is. So sometimes, not all the time, but we have seen sometimes moments out on circuit. We've seen spins, we've seen lockups, we've seen even Max Verstappen, famously back in Hungary a few years ago. He locked up and boinked his front wing at the first corner with a lock. Was it the first corner? Yeah, at the end of the pit lane, into the barriers there. So yeah, we have seen some hairy moments from some very experienced drivers on reconnaissance laps, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to a certain extent, not push the limits of the car, but they're trying to make sure everything's in working order. And sometimes they make silly mistakes. Would I do live streams for the World Endurance Championship at IMSA? Maybe, Naresh. I have looked at it. So, yeah, I did look at trying to do Le Mans, but it's just, obviously, endurance racing is a very different bag when it comes to commentating and covering. So, maybe in the future. I'm not going to say never, but maybe in the future. Sam, am I sick today? My voice is not at 100%. It is okay for today, and of course it has been okay for the past couple of days. But yes, if you haven't tuned in the past few days, I have just recently got over COVID. I had COVID the past week. COVID now is just like a strong cold. It just lingers. It's, to be honest, just a pain in the bum, pain in the backside. It's very tricky to shift it and just becomes annoying. And I've got a bit of a pathetic cough going on at the moment, so I do apologise if there is, but I am getting much better. I'm over the worst of it now. So you can't tell the difference in my voice compared to normal. Oh, well, that's good, Dan. That's good. Maybe some people are a bit more sensitive to the audio than others. So, Danny, the special video for F1, I think, made of Verstappen's Hungary crash rebuild with all the radio chatter is excellent. Yeah, no, it's brilliant. I love those insights, and it's similar to... Do you know what one of the best videos released in relation to behind the scenes of F1 was the video that Mercedes released when it came to... Was it a Netflix? I don't think it was. Was it for Drive to Survive? I don't think it was. I think it was just Mercedes released it on their YouTube when they won. They did that strategy call and they did the two-stop, the aggressive two-stop at Barcelona. Do you remember that? I think it was 21. And that was so good to see the back and forth chatter from back at the factory, where they was in the strategy room, conversing with those on the pit wall, relaying it back to Toto, like that chain of commands, that communication, and then relaying it to Lewis as well while he's doing laps out on track, and then the execution of it, I think was so good. And I'd love to see more of that on Drive to Survive. As a big F1 fan, but I understand there's more There's more focus now on the drama when it comes to and the storylines in relation to the drivers and the team principles. But that was unbelievable, that clip. So you heard 1 million views is €1,000, but only if you have regularly 1 million views. To be honest with you, there's no set standard of rates when it comes to the CPM, it's called, to a view. You can kind of try and do that, but there is no average, really. It all depends on which genre you're in, because some advertisers pay more than others, as an example. Especially that's why financial adverts and channels generally earn more. But there we go. Let's get back to F1, shall we? And, well, that is it for the reconnaissance laps. No shenanigans there. Everyone is lined up on their grid slots. So let's have a look, shall we, at the strategy options for today. So let's bring in my strategy sheet for you all. And just get set up. I don't like this graphic that I've got, but it's the only one I've been able to grab, because Pirelli, I don't think, are playing ball with their graphics. No, they're not. So do a bit of jiggery pokery here. Let's move you guys up here and mute that. So here we go. Here are the strategy options for today. Unfortunately, it's not the usual Pirelli graphic because Pirelli are asleep, it seems. But as we touched upon, as it was last year, there is a one-stop that has been proposed by Pirelli, the medium to hard compound tyre. I do think that is probably what we're going to see. I do think that's what we're going to see. I hope it isn't, but I think it's what we're going to see. The medium to the hard compound tyre. We're on the C1, which is the hard compound tyre. Then we skip a compound to the C3, which AKC, rightfully so and thankfully, pointed out to me. So we have a skip in compound. So we're not going to the C2. So Pirelli's decision-making there is to try and make the C1 less desirable and make it too slow. However, they expected it to be a couple of seconds slower. And from what I've seen, they saw in the testing data on Friday practice, it was on average about 1.4 seconds slower. So they think that the hard compound tyre may still be used here, which will be a shame for us. But I do still think even with that, particularly on the mediums, there is going to be maybe some tyre management because the undercut is powerful here. So some may have to go a lot longer on that hard compound tyre, or even the medium compound tyre, whichever tyre they decide to start on in that second stint, because they want that clean air and to get track position. So we'll keep an eye on the undercut today. The second strategy is to start on the soft compound tyre. I still don't think that ever starting on the soft compound tyre is a viable strategy. It used to, maybe in the past, you get that extra level of grip, but I just don't think it is now these days. I think we're going to see probably most start on the medium, and that leaves them open to either go into the soft compound strategy, which you can see at the bottom there. That's what Pirelli think. I think what I'd love to see today is really the bottom strategy and a medium soft strategy be utilised today. I think that will be very interesting for us, because that means we've got drivers having to eke out that strategy, the one stop. I just hope the hard compound tyre is an undesirable tyre and it is too slow. But I just got a suspicion that it isn't from what Pirelli have stated there. Well, a 40+ degree track thermal deg would kill them in less than 10 laps of softs. I know, and that's the thing, isn't it? That's the thing. So, what's the pit stop loss time per lap? We will see. We will see in a second. We'll get to that graphic. Do not fear. Amber, what do I think of Apple buying F1 to stream it on their service? Do I think it's a good idea or no? I don't know. I haven't really looked too much into it. I think overall it is actually an overall cost saving if you haven't bought F1 Premium already. So, yeah. Do I think Verstappen will struggle with the car setup? As yesterday, Max complained about the rear of the car. Well, that's the question, Nate, that I still have for Red Bull and Max Verstappen is, how is their tyre management? I really do hope actually we see tyre degradation here today, because that will provide us some good racing and intrigue over strategy. And we haven't seen any tyre degradation over the last 3 race weekends, which has been a positive for Red Bull. And I think maybe as not to take credit away from them, but I think it's maybe papered over the cracks that hasn't allowed McLaren to use the advantage that they have over the rest of the teams with their tyre management. We know that they've been so good on the tyres in relation to their anti-dive system and the phase change materials that they have in the brake duct systems that no one else seems to have. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very intriguing race today. So tyre allocations, you can see here that, well, no brand new softs available for our top 10 pretty much there. They only have used softs available. Only those who are in the bottom half have brand new sets of softs available. In the dark patch, the dark red there, they have, in relation to new tyres, Ollie Behrman has 2 brand new sets of medium tyres available to him. That's intriguing. Him starting in the top 10 today in P8. We'll see how that fares for him. But everyone is pretty much on the same set of tyres. They have the same amount of tyres and state of tyres available to use today, but leaves them open to varying strategy options. Now, in relation to the actual age of each individual tyre, I don't know. Some of those softs have probably done more than others, and maybe that's also the case for the mediums as well, as we have seen them, of course, used in qualifying in Q1 and Q2 for sprint quali, and in the race for the sprint race as well. But I can't imagine they will be that set in the sprint race will be used. It will be those that were used in Q1 and Q2. So, and then everyone had 2 brand new sets of hards available for this weekend. They all used it on the Friday to see how it would be, and they've still, other than Alonso and Stroll, who always like to scrub a set, they have a brand new set. Everyone has a brand new set of hards. So no variance there. Everyone's left their options open in relation to strategy. No one's blindly committed to a 1-stop or a 2-stop from the outset, or any compound for that matter. If we head to the degradation, and well, you can see here the soft has a very high degradation, 0.1 a tenth per lap, supposedly. The medium is half a tenth per lap, and the hard is 0.03. And well, the idea is that the hard, while the degradation is a lot lower because it is the C1, it is 2 steps harder than the medium. It is not going to be quick enough, but I think we will see it. So it's a price rise for you, KMH. I'm not interested in Apple TV, so probably just be, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked into the detail of the pricing structure, but that's just from what I've seen from some comments. So, put Max and George in the same car. I want to see the wannabe edgelord Max fans. Right, so let's have a look at the race simulation pace, and this is interesting because they suspect, actually, for the first time, I think, all season, that the Red Bull is actually the quickest car when it comes to the race pace. So that's going to be interesting. Mercedes 0.16, of course. This is primarily taken from the data that was gathered yesterday in the sprint race, although there was not a lot of laps that they undertook, let alone McLaren. They didn't take any laps. And, of course, the Friday practice as well, in the long runs on the hard compound tyre. So I would suspect that this is probably data that's been taken from the hard compound tyre runs that were undertaken on Friday in the Q1s, in FP1. So you can always kind of look at this at a pinch of salt. You don't know, these are kind of estimates, you don't know fuel loads, you don't know engine modes, etc. So yeah, interesting though, I think that's the first time this season Red Bull are actually top, so... Danny, monoblock streams are easy to follow overall because you don't have the constant ping-pong between co-commentators. I bet Stuffey's lung capacity is like a traction engine. The missus does always go, I don't know how your brain... I don't know how you get the words out so quickly and how your brain is so fast. So... Right, here we go. This is the interesting one here, guys. The pit stop lost time, eh? The pit stop lost time. Green flag, 20.6 seconds. So, around average, really. It's an average length pit stop. It's not particularly long. It's not particularly quick. And that's why, really, I think for the most part, it is a one-stop here. The drivers want to do a one-stop. And now we also know that track position is king. Clean air is king. However, this is a track where overtaking is possible. You can use multiple lines through corners to find some clean air and gain extra traction on your opponent ahead. So this is a track where you can overtake. So I think we will see some try, depending on how the race unfolds in relation to safety cars and so forth. But I think we will see, if there are some gaps that are formed, some of the drivers maybe try the two-stop and be aggressive. So, yeah, obviously it depends on the track temperature as well and how hot that will get. At the moment, it is 43.9 degree track temperature. And with yesterday, with the mediums. As I said, we still didn't really see, because of the interruptions with the safety car at the start and end of the race, we didn't see whether that medium compound tyre was probably going to fall off or not, which we normally do start to see at the end of a sprint race. So, and that's why it was quite worrying if you're a Max Verstappen fan, that he was complaining about the rear of his car that early on in the sprint race, because he was on a brand new set of tyres as well. So we'll see if he's been able to fix that. Two-stop is probably better, otherwise you have to manage. Yeah, but track position is important. And we know that track position is key when it comes to this season. So, but we'll see. Last year was a one-stop, but we didn't have to skip entire compounds. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. So, yeah, safety car is a over 6.5 second advantage when it comes to pitting under a safety car or a VSC. So that's quite significant. 29% chance of the safety car in the last 7 years here, as is the virtual safety car. Red flag is actually 0%. Have we ever had a red flag here at the Circuit Americas? I can't remember if we ever have. But interesting news, actually. Circuit Americas has just had its contract extended to 2034. So that's great news, because personally, I do like this track, and I think it's one that rightfully deserves its place on the calendar. Thank you, KMH. Much appreciated. If Oscar DNS, Max only needs P1 each race and World Championship. It's a big if, though, isn't it? I remember you asked myself at Silverstone about Max's title chance, and you told they were completely gone. It's crazy that how he's slowly turned it around. He has. It's still unlikely. I'm still standing there and saying it's unlikely. Look, Oscar Piastri still has 22-point advantage over his teammate and 55 points over Max. There's still 2 race win differences between him and Max Verstappen. That's a large margin. He still needs some assistance from the McLaren drivers, but never say never after obviously what we saw yesterday. Which circuit would I add to the calendar? I said before, I've had this conversation before. What did we say, guys? I think it was, there's a few tracks, but I think Turkey, Istanbul circuit. I love that track. We also get very intermittent weather there, and Sepang, Malaysia. So. It's a very important race for Oscar Piastri today. Very, very much so. So, yeah, that's it for the strategy options, guys, and all the relative information. The 20-second gap is what you're going to be looking for today. Of course, the undercut is powerful here, so we'll be looking at drivers maybe pitting early, trying to find some clean air, but then how is that going to fare in their second stint, taking it to the end of the race, as we do expect this to be a one-stop strategy if there are no safety cars and stoppages today. So I do think that strategy number 1 there, the medium to hard compound tyre, is what we're going to see. We may see those try the overcuts, maybe try and do... I think it's more so, to be honest with you, I think it's more so a choice between strategy number 1 and strategy number 4 today. I really do. I think we may see some of those who try and go very long on the medium compound tyre and then go on to the quick soft compound at the end of the race, but it degrades obviously quicker. And then we'll see those on the medium compound tyre maybe pit a bit earlier than that 20 laps, as is predicted there with the pit stop window, and then go very long on the hard compound tyre. We will see. No doubt those at the front will be keeping a keen eye on those on the hard compound tyre, because they'll be looking to see what their lap times are, and whether or not that tyre is actually working in race trim on race day today. So, yeah. You'd love to see Suzuka swap for Fuji, maybe twin ring. It's a shame, because I do like Suzuka. I do love Suzuka, but it has failed to provide us very good racing in recent history. So, yeah, I love watching F1 cars go around there, but when it comes to actual racing, it's been few and far between, hasn't it, there? So we've had some moments, but, yeah, it's been a real shame, to be honest with you. I think Fuji would be a great addition back to the calendar as well, so... Lando should get settled to be his mentor, imaginable McLaren garage post-race. Mentor in relation to who? McLaren drivers will help Max because they both want to win and most likely hinder each other. Well, that's where Max's advantage comes, and that's what Norris didn't have last year. He didn't have last year. He didn't have anyone getting in the way really of him and Max, and it made his life so much more difficult when it came to chasing him down. Now, I still think if McLaren backed him, he had the opportunity to chase down Max last year. It was a missed opportunity, I think, for McLaren. But he didn't have a teammate of Max Verstappen getting in the way, making him trip over himself, or them tripping over each other. It was, yeah, whereas Max has that this year. Max has the benefit of the two McLaren drivers tripping over each other, and of course they're both going for they've got the added pressure of going for their first world title as well. So all of that combines. So we are ready, nearly ready for this race to get underway. Just over 13 minutes now until the formation lap gets underway. Let's have a look at the drivers' standings, shall we? Ferrari, yeah, Charles, lift and coast into your grid spot. We did say this. We said even if Charles gets into P1 after the first lap, and the first corner, he will end up being. He will end up just. He will end up being told to lift and coast to the end of the race. Imagine the scenes. Right, so this driver standings, here we go. So before we head into today's race, Oscar Piastri leads on 336 points, guys. He is 22 points ahead of Lando Norris because he took his teammate out with him yesterday. So it is reset for Oscar Piastri. Of course, his qualifying yesterday was less than optimal, starting from P6, but he still has an opportunity to gain some points and close up behind his teammate today. Who knows what can happen in the next couple of hours here at Circuit of the Americas. Max Verstappen, who everyone is keeping an eye on at the moment, that gap down from 63 points to 55, just over 2 race wins behind Oscar Piastri, now 55 points behind after gaining 8 whole points on Piastri yesterday because of that DNF. George Russell, 244 points for him. The top, George Russell is basically going to finish where he is, no doubt. Leclerc and Hamilton are unchallenged from Kimi Antonelli behind. Alex Albon is looking to try and chase down Kimi Antonelli, but he is starting way down in the bottom 5 today after a poor qualifying. Carlos Sainz is looking to catch up and overtake Isaac Hadjar and finish and be one position behind his teammate. What a good run of form it has been for Carlos Sainz recently. Nico Hulkenberg very close there in relation to kind of being best of the rest. We know that Alex Albon is best of the rest at the moment, but very close behind with Hadjar, Sainz, Hulkenberg, and Alonso separated by just 3 points, and with Lance Stroll there. So Colapinto is still, which is absolutely mad. Colapinto is still the only driver and only car, because this includes Jack Doohan at the start of the season, they are the only car on the grid that is yet to score a single point, which is wild, absolutely wild. So, yeah, that is your driver standings. And the constructors, yes, there is still fighting for second place, but no one really cares about the constructors now. It's all about the drivers. McLaren wrapped up last time around in Singapore. It was Singapore, the Constructors' Championship. So, been very dominant, of course, that time around. So we'll keep you up to date on the Drivers' Championship permutations today, of where drivers are and what it looks like for them. Of course, Oscar Piastri starting in P6. Where is he going to finish? Let's have a look at the poll at the moment as it currently stands. Who wins the US Grand Prix? Unsurprisingly, Max Verstappen has the overwhelming vote of 73%. Lando Norris, 14%. Charles Leclerc, 9%. And George Russell, 4%. You hate late night races? It's okay, it's okay. Papaya rules are nonsense. Of course they are. Ferrari car will be about second for constructors. It's the only thing that they have to fight for now, really, isn't it? So, well, I say the only thing they have to fight for. They obviously want to try and win a race as well, or at least finish on the podium. It's been some time since they finished on the podium, and they haven't won a whole race all season. So that will be their aim, but I don't think they have many expectations. 0% chance of the rain for today's race. Unsurprisingly, it's very hot out there. They have had the track temperature is now up to 44.9 degrees, by the way. Oof, it's getting hotter and hotter out there. That's not going to help the tyres by any means. But yeah, the heat warning has come in for the second race in a row, so drivers are able to use that vest if they want to. Do I show the race, Dwayne? No, I cannot show the race because of copyright reasons, but we watched the race. I've got the TV coverage alongside me, so I'm able to keep you up to date on the actual goings-on, but we have the track map here, we have the live data available, and my brilliant live commentary as well, if I don't say so myself. Hey, Offrey, good to see you. How do you sync, Offrey? You can pause via YouTube. You just hit the pause button. That's the great thing of YouTube, and you can wait for it to start on your TV coverage. Max only won because of the crazy chaos yesterday. I don't know. I mean, look, we were robbed of seeing the opportunity of whether the McLaren had the pace to overtake Max yesterday in what would be necessarily kind of the first stint of today's race. So it would have been interesting to see. I've said it already. I've said it a few times. It would have been super intriguing to see George Russell on a fresh set of mediums, starting on that race yesterday, because he was looking quick to Max, and he was able to stay close in that dirty air for at least the good first few late racing laps that we had after the safety car restart. Of course, he only had one opportunity because his tyres were 5 laps older. But with Max saying that he was struggling a bit, I think George would have taken it to him 100%. So it's whether or not I keep saying it, the question mark for me is the tyre management of that Red Bull, and in relation to the McLaren. We know that's been the strength of the McLaren this year. It was formerly the strength of the Red Bull in this regulation set at the first couple of seasons, because they were just able to go faster for so much longer, because they were so much more supreme in relation to their tyre management, whereas everyone else was struggling. And that's kind of been the case for McLaren as well, with some great advancements in their technology, primarily around the brake ducts and the anti-dive system that they've created. But over the past 3 races in particular, those advantages have been negated by the basically lack of tyre degradation and low downforce setups required at the tracks like Baku, Monza, and then obviously Singapore. There was no tyre degradation either. The McLaren setup may not be optimal after fixing it up for the cars for the T1 incident yesterday, so Max may have been more fortunate than we think. Potentially, Dan, yeah, that is true. That is true, and Oscar as well admitted yesterday. He admitted that he just wasn't able to get into a rhythm. He didn't say he's struggling, but he just said, I just haven't been able to get into a rhythm. And that's why he's been consistently off of his teammate. And of course, that rhythm was dramatically interrupted with that Turn 1 incident, because he didn't have a whole 16 laps of racing behind him, so where he can build himself into a weekend. Piastri, generally speaking, if you look at most Fridays throughout this season, he has been second best when it comes to Norris, but he builds up. He gets the pace, he analyses the data, and he finds that pace over a Saturday. And so often we saw him do it when it matters, in the pressure moment in Q3. But this weekend, he has been fully interrupted. So it's just, if the Red Bull's race pace is good here, I think it will be a struggle for it. Yeah, it's going to be an intriguing one. I think it's definitely going to be an intrigue. I think we're going to see racing. And Lando definitely wants to win, because, look, settling for second, there's no guarantee that Oscar... I mean, I would fully expect, even with Oscar's struggles here this weekend, I fully expect Oscar to be able to clear Hamilton, Russell and Leclerc. I do. So, really, Lando needs to finish ahead of... He needs to be thinking about the win and finishing ahead of Verstappen, because then he will gain, at minimum, 7 points over Oscar, if Oscar then also in turn overtook Verstappen. This is all ifs and buts, of course. I'm speaking hypothetically. So you want to go for that race win, because you're guaranteed 7 points at minimum over Oscar Piastri, your championship rival. If Oscar finishes third and there's a position between you, there's a car between you and your teammate, then that's even more points. But that big 7 points difference between first and second is very, very important, and it could be even more. So as it currently sits at 22 points. So, yeah. I think Oscar is unravelling mentally. His frustration is getting the better of him, and maybe he doesn't have enough experience yet to balance it. Well, it's crunch time, isn't it? It's very much crunch time, and I think it's anyone played a round of golf, and you know you're on course to shoot a good score. You're on course to shoot a good score, whether it be like overall or against your handicap. You know, and how often has that good score gone dissipated in the last few holes, because you realise you have a lot to lose, and then because of that you start playing tentatively. And it's the same with football as well. Same thing when people are up in games, and they're 1-0 up in games or 2-0 up in games, and then they start to defend because they've got so much more to lose, rather than going to kill off the game and win it and take it by the rough of its neck, and they end up drawing that game or sometimes even losing. So it happens so often in sport, in these pressure moments, because they have more to lose when they're in a leading position. Right, so we do have tyre blankets off, and surprisingly, Charles Leclerc, Charles wants to mix it up at the front, doesn't he? Charles wants to mix it up in the front. It's the one time I am actually... fair play Ferrari. Fair play Ferrari and Charles. He says he's here for a good time tomorrow. Maybe not necessarily a long time, and he wants to mix it up and send it into turn one. He did say that. He's not here just to take part, and he is starting on the soft compound tyre. Max and Norris will not like to see that. George Russell is on the mediums. Everyone is on the mediums down to Bortoletto. Some of those, Ocon, Albon, are starting on the hards, trying to go long, go hang for a safety car, track position, etc. I entirely understand that, same as Isaac Hadjar. So there we go. Woo-hoo-hoo. It's not new tyres, but it's still grippier. He could still get a much better launch and have much better traction out of turn one and in that first lap as a whole. So, spicy. Right, guys, hit that like and subscribe button. I'm just going to have a quick loo break. I suggest you guys do the same, as we have 3 minutes until the formation lap gets underway. Here we go. Here we go, guys. Here we go. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. Just heard, actually, that the last time pole position was won from... When last time this race was won from pole position was 2021. That is how long ago. So the last 3 seasons, pole position has not won this race. I think that's correct. You can check if that is the case, but yeah. Strategic clash for the win. Yeah, so Leclerc is dive bombing. Yeah. It is win it or bin it for Charles Leclerc in turn one. So often you are told as a racing driver and a sim racing driver, it's not won in the first corner. Charles Leclerc is ignoring that today. He's ignoring that advice because for him, it is won or lost in the first corner. So here we go. Here we go. What do I think? Will it be some incidents on the first turn, just like at the sprint? I think so. Yeah, I think we'll see some wheel banging. Will we see a big incident? I don't know. I think everyone's going to be a bit cautious after what we saw yesterday. It is a very long race, of course, but Charles Leclerc could he imagine he does a George Russell? Imagine he does a George Russell of a few years ago on Carlos Sainz. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. I'm just saying there, guys. But yes, welcome everyone. Hope you are well. 45 seconds until this formation lap gets underway here for the United States Grand Prix. If you are just tuning in, welcome. Hit that like and subscribe button. Well, we have information here of those tyre blankets being removed. As expected, the majority of the field is on the medium compound tyre. We are expecting a one-stop strategy here today. Really, I do expect, if there is no interruption to proceedings with safety cars, red flags, etc., that is something that we have seen here in the past, safety cars and VSCs at Circuit of the Americas. And, well, that would also gain you 6 seconds advantage in the pit lane. So the undercut is powerful here if you didn't tune in for our strategy. But we are expecting a one-stop strategy of primarily the medium to the hard compound tyre. Track temperature is high here at 44.7 degrees, so we do expect that there will be an element of tyre management today, and I think it will play a factor and a big role, something that it hasn't done for the last 3 race weekends, as drivers are on their way with a little bit of a delay, I believe, down to the start-finish, down to the first corner. My keyboard and make sure I don't step on it. There we go. Should we grab popcorn for T1? I think so. So. What is going to happen here, of course, if you tuned in for the sprint race yesterday, and if you didn't see the sprint race yesterday, where have you been? Check it out now. You have probably around 45 seconds, a minute or so to check out what happened at the first corner. But we have Max Verstappen on pole position for the second time here this weekend after his sprint race pole. He did confirm yesterday that him not being able to complete his second time lap in Q3 yesterday was an error. So if he lost pole position yesterday due to not being able to cross the start-finish line in time, that would have been, there would have been probably some very naughty words said by Max Verstappen on the radio to his team. So that definitely wasn't by design. So very, very... I said not very lucky because he put in a very decent lap anyway, but lucky in a sense that it didn't come back to bite him and haunt him. Lando Norris is P2 for the second time also this weekend. Will he be able to get a decent start? He bogged down yesterday, which inevitably in the end caused that in turn, that incident with Oscar Piastri getting alongside him and trying to cut back and causing both the McLarens to retire. Charles Leclerc is in P3 on the soft compound tyre. Yes, it's used softs, but it's aggressive strategy for Charles. He is trying to win it in the first corner, something that racing drivers are told so often is not the case, but Charles does not hear that advice today. George Russell is P4. Hamilton is P5. Didn't expect the Ferraris to be up there. We'll see how their race pace will be today. Oscar Piastri, P6. I do expect him to make some ground up here today and maybe get up to the back of Verstappen and Norris quite quickly. But Piastri, of course, we know, is under pressure at the moment, leading the championship by 22 points and 55 to to Max Verstappen. Kimi Antonelli is P7. A good Q3 performance from him, something that he failed to do in the sprint quali. Ollie Behrman, a great qualifying from him, starting in P8. He has two brand new sets of mediums today, so see if he can make up some ground even higher than 8th position, or at least solidify best of the rest. Carlos Sainz, another Q3 performance from him in P9, continuing his good run of form. Fernando Alonso in P10. Can he score points today? Nico Hulkenberg, unfairly taken out at turn 1 yesterday. What a great performance. Hopefully he can get the great performance and great result that he fully deserves here today that was snatched away from him yesterday. Liam Lawson in P12, Yuki Tsunoda in P13. No love lost between Lawson and Tsunoda. If you listen to the comments in the post cool-down interview after quali, Tsunoda thinking Lawson was impeding him intentionally, where Lawson just said not entirely sure what he's talking about. Pierre Gasly is P14, Colapinto 15th, Bortoletto is 16th starting on the softs, Ocon and Albon starting 17th and 18th on the hard compound tyres. Their goal hanging for a safety car. Stroll in P19 starting on the softs, and Isaac Hadjar is starting 20th after losing control of his car in the first sector yesterday in Q1. So here we go, guys. Welcome, welcome. Moments away from the United States Grand Prix getting underway here as Isaac Hadjar pulls up to the back of the grid. And, well, they're all lined up. Quite a big delay in relation to the lights going out. That was quite a long hold. I wonder if anyone will be caught out here as we head up turn 1 again up to the elevation. Will everyone be able to make it through into turn 1 unscathed as we can see changes of position further back down as I think Charles Leclerc is P1 unless Max Verstappen drives back past Charles Leclerc, who started on the soft compound tyre and gets ahead of Lando Norris. George Russell has lost 2 positions there, but importantly everyone has been able to make their way through turn 1 unscathed. But Charles Leclerc makes a great launch past Lando Norris, and well, Oscar Piastri made a great overtake on George Russell, but well, Lando Norris I think nearly touched the rear of Max Verstappen through turn 1, and he just had to slightly lift, and that allowed Charles Leclerc to go full on attack mode, and Charles Leclerc even poked a nose into the entry of the S's turn 4 on Max Verstappen. So Verstappen leads. Not the best start for Lando Norris. Will he be able to quickly relieve Charles Leclerc of P2? We will see. But yes, just watching the replay again, and Lando I think just had to, as Max Verstappen kind of checked up and just delayed the throttle input out of the exit of turn 1. But Verstappen leads from Charles Leclerc down into turn 12, and it is Norris in P3, Hamilton P4, Oscar Piastri is P5 with George Russell in P6. Kimi Antonelli has lost a position there under braking into turn 7. as Carlos Sainz is P9. Yuki Tsunoda, another great start from him. He gained 11 positions at the start of this race yesterday, and well, he is now up 3 places into the points, so a good start from him. There's a double yellow as Alex Albon is off through turn 12. Is it just a spin for Alex Albon? Is he going again, or has there been contact? I'm not entirely sure. I think he is going again. We do have some lag here, unfortunately, in the track map, as I'm just watching a replay now of whether Alex Albon did lose control of his car. I do suspect that he has done, as he is on that hard compound tyre at this moment in time. Let me just restart the track map for you very quickly here, guys. If this does continue to lag, I do know how to resolve it fully in relation to a hard restart here. But at the moment, after the first corner, it is Max Verstappen leading from Charles, from there. We're well behind here. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to restart multi-viewer here. Just bear with me. I do know how to do this. I do know how to do this so that we end up on a different server and we do not have any issues in relation to the data moving forward. Not ideal, but it is what it is, no doubt. Lots of people tuning in this late on, as we can see here. Max Verstappen there. We are back. We are back. Apologies, everyone. Technical issues here at the start of this race. We are good. So Verstappen putting out a gap there on Charles Leclerc, as you can see. And, well, Lando Norris not able to get past Charles Leclerc at this moment in time. So turn 12 incident involving Albon and Bortoleto has been noted for causing a collision there. But I do think everyone should be... Why is the track map still slightly delayed here? They are through... No, sorry. No, we are good. We are good. So Max Verstappen just crossed the line there and has just set a purple lap time of a 1:40.2, and importantly from him, he is putting out a gap of 1.8 seconds over Charles Leclerc at this moment in time. So Charles Leclerc holding up now Lando Norris, with Piastri only 2 positions behind his teammate at this moment in time. So if I just bring up the championship standings for myself, I could bring up some of the more data here. So that we've got the race control that we can put here, and I just want the championship standings for myself so that I can see off screen and see the permutations for you all. Oh my goodness, apologies. This is technical issues here at the start of this race. But I think we're all good and ready to go, and we should have no interruptions now in proceedings. So yes, big thank you, guys. Apologies there. Right, so let's get myself sorted. So Oscar Piastri in P1, in the championship lead at the moment. Of course, he'll be leading and gaining 10 points, but he'll be losing 5 points to Lando Norris, and that gap coming down to 17 points at the moment. In relation to Max Verstappen, he would be gaining 25 points and gaining 15 points over Oscar Piastri, and bringing that gap down to 40 points as it currently stands. But at the moment, it is Verstappen leading 2.3 seconds to Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris is P3 with Lewis Hamilton in P4 with Oscar Piastri 1 position behind. George Russell is P6 with Kimi Antonelli in P7. Carlos Sainz is P8. Yuki Tsunoda is up into P9 now. He got past Ollie Behrman. Nico Hulkenberg is P11 with Fernando Alonso in P12. Liam Lawson is P13. Gasly is 14th. Bortoleto is up a place into 15th with Colapinto 16th, Stroll 17th, Ocon 18th, Hadjar 19th and Albon 20th. But Lando Norris really needs to try and get a move on and overtake Charles Leclerc now, who is on this soft compound tyre, and he is losing time. Hand over fist here, Leclerc, to Max Verstappen, as is Lando Norris. So Lando has Hamilton in his rearview mirror and needs to try and dispatch Charles Leclerc as quick as possible. But Lewis Hamilton, who has the record amount of wins here at Circuit of the Americas, is on the rear wing of Lando Norris as well. He said he found something in relation to the performance and the setup of the car, and procedurally and the actual mechanically of the car over Friday to from Saturday. From sprint race to quali. So has that will that translate to the race? We will see. But Max Verstappen in clean air, as we know, clean air is king, is leading by 2.5 seconds. Let's see. DRS open for Lando Norris now as he heads down the back straight. He is a lot under half a second. It's the first time it's been under a half a second on Charles Leclerc. We know Leclerc is an aggressive defender, as he did to his teammate yesterday in the sprint race. Does Lando have enough under braking into turn 12? And I don't think he does, unless he has the traction on Charles Leclerc on those soft compound tyres. And no, but he's all under his rear wing as it it currently stands, and this is just going to allow Max Verstappen to pull away. As you can see, that gap to Verstappen getting larger and larger. 3 seconds is the gap now, and Lando needs to make this move stick. He needs to get past him. As Leclerc went defensive on the inside, Lando was never fully alongside to even make an overtaking attempt, but he's trying to force Leclerc out of position and maybe even try and pull him out of the toe of Max Verstappen at this stage of the race, because even though he is 3 seconds back, he will be gaining a toe. So Lando, will he go for a late move here on the run up into turn 1? Will Leclerc go defensive? Will we see a cutback like we saw Oscar Piastri failed to attempt yesterday at the start of the race? No, but Lando has those medium compound tyres, and he did a 40.4, but Verstappen sets a 39.7, and well, Charles Leclerc is just holding up this pack. And I'll tell you what, Oscar Piastri is struggling a little bit out there, guys, as he is 1.4 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton and just picks up a track limits violation at turn 19. So Oscar Piastri just falling away a little bit from this three of Leclerc, Norris and Hamilton, but let's see if Norris is able to have a move again on Charles Leclerc, as Leclerc did swoop around the outside of Lando Norris into turn 1 at the start of this race on those soft compound tyres. We knew he was going to be aggressive. Lando loses just a little bit of a time out of the exit of turn 11, but he has the DRS open, and well, will he have enough battery usage? Is he going to be using overtake mode here? I feel like he needs to do something. He needs that clean air. He needs to get that car, that papaya car, in front of the red Ferrari, and well, at the moment, this is just allowing Max to continue to pull out this gap. Lando needs to poke a nose somewhere. He needs to be careful, of course, because as it currently stands, he would be gaining 5 points on his championship rival, but he wants to win this race. That's what you need to do, is take this championship by the horns. And well, it doesn't seem like anyone has really wanted to do that thus far. And Max Verstappen is quietly well, I say quietly, he's not quietly now. He is fully there, closing down this gap on the championship in relation to Oscar Piastri. 15 points advantage would be as it currently stands. Oscar Piastri in P5, Max in first. 306 points to Piastri's 346, down to 40 points. As it stands. But as we have 51 laps remaining of this race, it's Verstappen leading by 3 seconds to Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris is still within the DRS, 6.5 tenths back from Charles Leclerc, although he loses a bit of time there through turn 3. We are seeing 2 track limits violations already for Isaac Hadjar through turn 12, so Isaac Hadjar needs to be careful, otherwise he'll be picking up a black and white flag very shortly. He is at the back of the field at the moment in P19 on that hard compound tyres, and he's already got a black and white flag. We're only on lap 6 of this race, and Isaac Hadjar already has black and white flag for track limits. 1 more, and he will receive a 5-second time penalty. But Verstappen, 2.6. I'll tell you what, Verstappen just lost 3 tenths that last lap to Charles Leclerc on the soft compound tyre. Look at the track limits are flying in left, right and centre at this moment in time. A big thank you for everyone for tuning in, by the way. I appreciate that we had some technical issues at the start of this race. The server load was quite busy, so we just have to reset and find a new server. But there are track limits being taken left, right and centre at this moment in time, and we could see this race maybe decided on penalties come the end of it with a predicted one-stop strategy here. But importantly, Lando has lost 1.1, has lost time to Charles Leclerc, 1.1 seconds to Verstappen, and well, we have an incident noted for Esteban Ocon, a false start moving before the signal. If that is moving before, there's a yellow, there's another yellow. Who is off? There is Kimi Antonelli, is round at turn 12. Has he got going again? I'm not entirely sure. I can't see his icon, or has he stalled? Is this a safety car here? What has happened to Kimi Antonelli? Of course, through turn 15, we saw him make a brave move in the sprint race on Ollie Behrman yesterday, which caused Ollie Behrman to get a 10-second time penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. He has got going again, Kimi Antonelli, so maybe he just tried to same move, shoving it down the inside there through turn 15 as Carlos Sainz is off. So is this the contact that has occurred with Antonelli and Carlos Sainz? There's a yellow through turn 19, and what has happened here? They're showing replays of the race start as I'm seeing my TV coverage, which is totally irrelevant right at this moment in time. Lando Norris is losing time to Charles Leclerc, as well as Lewis Hamilton, who's gone fastest in the first sector. There's a lot happening out on track, but we could see a safety car, and well, Carlos Sainz is right at the entry of the pit lane, so I wonder if there will even be a safety car, but they will be approaching the Williams, stranded Williams as it currently looks, as there is a VSC deployed. Wow. as Carlos Sainz has moved over to a spot where the car can be removed at the entry of the pit lane. But, yes, it's obviously not in necessarily a safe position. Yet to see exactly what occurred there. Was it Sainz who made a mistake? Was it Kimi Antonelli? I can't see any... So it looks like Carlos Sainz has lost his front wing end plate. Maybe he's picked up a front right puncture for his troubles there. I'm yet to see a replay of exactly what has happened, but I do suspect, yes, it is most likely a contact collision between Antonelli and Sainz. Who was ahead of who heading into there? I don't quite remember. Don't quite remember who was heading in, who heading into there. But we will have a look. Will anyone try and do a very early undercut here? We will see. Let me have a look here just at the track limits tracker, because that is something that we need to keep an eye out on. So I'm watching the replay, and it's Carlos Sainz. Oh, big contact there. Carlos Sainz does the move that Antonelli did on Bearman yesterday. Shoves his Williams down the inside. And, well, Kimi Antonelli... Did Kimi Antonelli just keep turning? Should he have seen him and left more room? I need to see it from Sainz's onboard to see exactly whether Sainz locked up. Could he? Was it overzealous from Sainz? I mean, it's a valid move. We've seen that move made so often. Nah, Sainz locks up. Yeah, Sainz locks up. He says Antonelli just turned in there. But I don't think he was ever stopping the car, and he was going to be wide of the apex. I think more blame on Carlos Sainz there. I don't think it was the correct execution. And yeah, we'll see what the stewards have to say about it. Antonelli and Sainz. I think ultimately, they will say, as per the letter of the law, that Kimi Antonelli was ahead at the apex, and Carlos Sainz was never sufficiently alongside, and it will be Sainz's fault. But Antonelli pits, Albon pits as well. He's now onto the mediums. So Albon is probably going to try and do the end of this race, 49 laps on this medium compound tyre. So let's see, shall we, whether Lando will get caught napping at the VSC restart. If you remember, he got caught napping in Baku when it came to a safety car restart. Lewis Hamilton will be looking at the rear of... Lando Norris's rear wing, of course, but Charles Leclerc has a bit of an advantage over Lando Norris at the moment, because Lando Norris seems to have fallen a bit off. Maybe he's already gone into tyre saving mode here. Oscar Piastri is P5. He has George Russell behind him. I can't remember exactly what the gaps were, but in relation to track limits violations, Isaac Hadjar has 3. He has a black and white flag at the moment. 1 more track limits violation for him. He will receive a 5-second time penalty. Colapinto has 2. Bortoletto, Antonelli, Lance Stroll, Esteban Ocon, and Oscar Piastri all have 1 track limits violations to their name. So, yeah. Albon pitting seems smart. Yeah, most probably. I can't show you the crash. I can't show you full coverage, guys, because we will get, of course, done for copyright reasons. Right, so hope you are enjoying the stream. Now it is back underway, so the VSC is coming to an end here. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you for everyone who has been subscribing. I can see the number rolling up there, so big thank yous. The VSC is coming to an end. Will Norris be caught napping here? Let's see. And we are green light, and we are racing again. It's go, go, go. The gap to Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc is 3.1 seconds. Charles Leclerc is on the soft compound tyre. Lando Norris has a gap of 2 seconds to Leclerc as it currently stands. Lewis Hamilton, I think, is the one who actually got caught napping there, as he was under the DRS. Bless you. He was under the DRS of Lando Norris when that VSC came out, and he's now he was under a second, was over a second back from Norris, but he's now just gained it on him down into the turn 7 corner there through the first sector. So Lewis Hamilton, he loves that first sector. That's where he has been very quick and made up a lot of time on his rivals in the past, with him being the most prestiged race winner here of all time. Esteban Ocon, no further investigation for a false start. Carlos Sainz and Kimi Antonelli will be investigated after the race. So that probably means that, yeah, with Antonelli down at the back and with Carlos Sainz out of this race, it's probably not a decision that needs to be made right now and needs to be prioritised. So I get that from the stewards. I'm not always, of course, I'm very critical of the stewards, and I think sometimes they do shirk a lot of the responsibility to after the race. But with Carlos Sainz out and with him most probably predominantly at fault for that collision. There's no point in wasting their time there, and they'll sort it out after the race. But we have 47 laps remaining when they cross the line. We are about to start the 10th lap of this race. We have just had a VSC here for a collision between Carlos Sainz and Kimi Antonelli into turn 15. Carlos Sainz sending his car up the inside, and well, just a little bit overzealous really. Kimi Antonelli, could he have left more room? Yes, he could have done, but I think Sainz was just going in a little bit too hot there, and it has taken himself out of the race for what could have been another point scoring position. So a driver error there for Carlos Sainz has removed him from this race, and well, the second Williams in Alex Albon, who qualified in the bottom 5 yesterday, is now in 19th, the only driver to make a pit stop thus far. So Max leading 2.5 seconds to Charles Leclerc, and Charles has just done a 26.5 on those soft compound tyres. So what this will do for Charles Leclerc in particular, that VSC, it would have helped his soft compound tyres cool for a few laps, and well, it will make them last just a bit longer in this race. So that will definitely help him, as he has just done the fastest first sector. Will he be able to catch Max though? I'm not entirely sure. I don't think Max's race today is with Leclerc. It is still with Lando Norris, even though Norris is just under 2 seconds back from Charles Leclerc. But you can see there, the interval closing there, getting shorter as Lando makes his way down the back straight, even with no DRS, even while being 1.8 seconds, 2 seconds behind, you still get a slipstream from that far back. Purple middle sector there for Lando Norris, you can see. So he is starting to gain a little bit on Charles Leclerc. That as everyone on the grid, maybe other than the hard compound runners, it would have helped them to cool down their tyres. 45.8 degrees is the track temperature at the moment, so it is very hot here at Circuit of the Americas. So yes, tyre management is definitely going to be an issue, as Antonelli at the back of the grid in clean air sits the fastest lap of the race. That's 4 seconds quicker than Max Verstappen, so that just shows how quick these drivers can go. Well, Verstappen does just now do a 39.2, so half a second quicker. So yeah, sorry, the previous lap was under VSC, wasn't it? So that's why it was so slow. But Antonelli a 38.8 there, so that just shows how quick these drivers can go right now if they're trying to push. But at the moment, they are looking to try and eke out their tyres. I wonder if Charles will pit. He will pit. Yes, he will pit. Am I a Ferrari fan? I like the merch. I'm not necessarily a Ferrari fan. Well, I think I kind of always have a soft spot for them, and I want them to do well. I think the sport is better off when Ferrari does well. But yeah, it's been few and far between, of course, when you've had moments to cheer to Tifosi. But as it currently stands, and I know I keep saying as it currently stands, and if you're having a drinking game right now, you're probably already very drunk if you're taking a shot every time I say as it currently stands. Verstappen leads P1 with Charles Leclerc in P2. Lando Norris is P3 with Lewis Hamilton in P4. Piastri is P5. George Russell P6. He is trying to close down the gap on Oscar Piastri, and he was 3 tenths quicker than Oscar last time around. And interestingly, if you look at Oscar Piastri in P5, a 40.3 last time, compared to Lando Norris's 39.3. So Oscar Piastri at this stage of the race is a second slower than his teammate and the front runners. So Oscar Piastri has been off the pace here this weekend. At this stage, 11 laps into the race, is not going that quickly compared to his teammate. But is he just thinking about managing his tyres in this first stint with 46 laps remaining? George Russell, as we mentioned, in P6. Yuki Tsunoda is up 6 places right now. He's the biggest gainer at the start of this race. With those two, with that incident between Kimi Antonelli and Carlos Sainz, that's relinquished 2 places for Yuki, who was already up 3 places at the start of this race into the first corner. He is now up 6 places into P7. He's actually travelling quite nicely in relation to pace and looking to catch up to the back of George Russell. Ollie Behrman is P8 where he started. Hulkenberg is now up into the points. Those 2 freebies have allowed him to get into P9. Fernando Alonso is where he started as well. Lawson is up a position into 11th. Gasly 12th. Bortoleto 13th. Colapinto 14th. Stroll is up 4 places into 15th. Ocon is 16th. Hadjar is 17th. Antonelli is 18th after that collision with Sainz. Albon, the sole driver to pit thus far, is on the medium compound tyres. We have an overtake from Lance Stroll on Colapinto. And unlike yesterday in the sprint race where he locked up and T-boned Esteban Ocon, which afforded him a 5-place grid penalty for him, he has overtaken Colapinto cleanly and now is up into P14 on the soft compound tyre. So yes, Alex Albon at the back, following Kimi Antonelli, the only driver to pit thus far, and he is on the mediums probably to the end of this race, with Sainz being the driver who has retired thus far, bringing out that early VSC. But as we head back to the top of the timing screens, Max Verstappen 3.6 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc on the mediums compared to the softs. And well, Lando Norris is now 1.1 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. So he has now closed closed that gap quite dramatically in the last couple of laps after this virtual safety car restart. He's pulled out a gap on Lewis Hamilton as well, who is now nearly 2 seconds behind. And, well, can Norris overtake Leclerc, who is definitely going to be in that dirty air right now? He will not have DRS down into turn 1, but he will be gaining. You can see the extra traction that he has out of turn 20, the last corner, as Charles Leclerc did spin in that very corner in qualifying yesterday in Q1. So Charles Leclerc may be starting to struggle with the rears of those soft compound tyres. 15 laps they have now done. They were 3 laps old before he even started this race. So no brand new soft tyres available to drivers out there today. We do expect it will be a medium to hard compound strategy today. Maybe even a medium to soft compound strategy. But we do expect it will be a one-stop. Track temperature is increasing, 46 degrees at this moment. Wow, up to 46. Getting hotter and hotter. That's not going to be very good for the tyres. They'll be screaming at the drivers right now, and that's maybe why the pace of some of these drivers has fallen off, as Oscar Piastri in particular is a second slower than his teammate and Lewis Hamilton. That is a lot of pace that Piastri is struggling with right now, and he has a second track limits violation, Oscar Piastri. Turn 13. So 2 more track limits violations, he will have a 5-second time penalty. 1 more and he'll get a black and white flag. So Piastri, I think, is evidently struggling with his car after that crash yesterday. And we saw him struggle in qualifying, and, well, it's carried over into the race. I don't think this is just him managing his tyres in this first stint. So we will keep an eye on him and whether George Russell can dispatch Oscar Piastri in what looks like a struggling McLaren. Back to the other McLaren, though. Lando Norris is now within DRS of Charles Leclerc. You can see that highlighted, that interval highlighted there. 9 tenths is the gap. Is he going to gain some more time out of the last corner? He loses the 1 second advantage as they went into the braking zone of turn 20. But then does get underneath it again. He still has DRS as he went through that detection points. The pink dots there on your screen with under 1 second behind the car ahead. So if they're within 1 second of those detection points of the car ahead, they will get DRS, even if they reach the DRS zone and they are over 1 second. That is how the system works. As Norris has a track limits violation through turn 20. So Norris there not able to capitalise at the moment on closing down to Charles. Yet to see how big that track limits violation was. Maybe it was just marginal. It's so easy to pick him up there, as Ollie Behrman now is the next driver to pick up a track limits violation. But it's a fastest first sector for Lando Norris with the assistance of DRS down into turn 1. And, well, is he going to get a good exit out of turn 11 here? 9 tenths is the gap, 8 tenths is the gap, and he got great traction compared to Charles out of turn 11, but he's probably just going to be a little bit too far back. And, well, you do think he's going to have to stick a move on Charles. It's going to have to be a late one if he wants to get past him, unless Charles's tyres really do fall off a cliff. But by the time that happens, Verstappen is going to be probably too far up the road. We will see. 1 or 2 more laps, you think he's got him? Maybe. But it really does depend. It really depends on how those rears are struggling for Charles. 4.7 seconds is the gap to Max Verstappen at the front. Lando Norris 5 tenths back. Half a second back. Will he gain through this last sector? Can he maybe have a move into turn 1? We will see. Of course, there's a lot that he still has to lose here. As it currently stands, he would be gaining 5 points over his teammate. But if he gains another position on Charles, it will be an additional 3 points. It will be 8 points gained on his teammate. As they make their way up into turn 1, is there a late move here from Norris down into the first corner? No, he's still just too far back. You do suspect he needs to be under that half a second range, maybe even closer out of the corner. But Charles is doing well just to hold off Norris right now. Lando, wait for Charles to pit. Don't use up your tyres. That's probably the strategy right now. It probably is the strategy. That's the thing, isn't it? If your championship rival is Verstappen, which still technically it is, as Bortoleto is pitting, if it was just Norris versus Verstappen, I think Norris would go for it maybe a bit more. But because it is still primarily the championship leader is still Oscar Piastri, he still has a 22-point advantage as they headed into this race today. That will dwindle, as we know, as it sits at this moment in time. So Norris, let's have a look now. 4 tenths behind. 3 tenths behind, surely. Is this it? Is this it for Lando Norris? Charles Leclerc will go defensive on the inside as he has done previously, but will he go deep into the corner? Will Lando be able to get the traction and go round the outside of Charles Leclerc? They're side by side into turn 13. They need to be careful here. And I think Charles Leclerc has got the elbow from Norris, but he sends it straight back on Norris. They're still side by side. Great wheel-to-wheel action here between Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris, and Leclerc still holds on to P2. Wow, how much longer will Leclerc be able to hold on to this position though? Because he is now susceptible to an overtake as Charles Leclerc defended on the inside to Lando Norris. Lando swept around the outside and then tried to... Lando just couldn't get his car on the inside of Charles Leclerc, and Charles just did very well and still just has enough traction in those soft compound tyres to hold on to the position of Lando Norris on those mediums. Those softs are starting to go, but they still have enough out of the slow traction corners. But he is definitely a lot more susceptible now to Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, as he is closer than he has ever been, as Lando Norris now picks up a second track limits violation through turn 9, lap 15. So that was last time around through turn 9. So Lando Norris needs to be careful of track limits as well, as he is 2 temps, as he has one more until he gets a black and white flag. So both McLaren drivers have 2 track limits violations to their names. But Charles Leclerc has just pulled out a tremendous amount of time through that middle, that second sector, the start of the second sector there, through the S's on him, as Hamilton is within the DRS of Lando Norris now with those two fighting, and that's the thing that's now bringing Lewis Hamilton into this fight, and Lando will have to be careful. He really does need to try and make this stick. But wow, very, very close racing between them. Fair, respectful. Charles gave racing room wherever it was available to Lando Norris, but Lando just couldn't get his car enough up the inside of Charles. And well, he now finds himself 6 temps, 7 temps back, and he's not going to have an opportunity, you imagine, right now. And all this is doing for Max Verstappen is allowing him to pull out that gap. 6.7 seconds to Charles Leclerc at the moment is Max Verstappen. Wow, putting out a tremendous gap, and this is exactly what he would be hoping for. Charles, 41.3 last time around as they were fighting, and now it's a 40.3, so that just shows how much time you lose if you fight here at this racetrack. So Charles really getting in the way here. I think I'd love to see the race restart again from Lando Norris's onboard, to be honest with you, because I think Lando did actually get a good start. However, I think Max was the one who was maybe just a touch hesitant on the throttle coming out of turn 1, and Lando had a much better roll. He rolled the car through so much better, and unfortunately he had to slightly check up off of to ensure that he wouldn't go into the back of Max's car, and that allowed Charles Leclerc to swoop around the outside on those soft compound tyres. And here we are now, 17 laps later, with Charles Leclerc 6.7 seconds behind Verstappen, and Norris still stuck behind Charles. But he is close here. He had a fastest first sector there out of everyone today, a 26.3. He is 6.5 temps behind Charles right now. And well, does he have the overspeed? That is the question. How quick will that McLaren be with the DRS? Will Charles go defensive here, or will Lando go for a late move? No, he holds on to position, and he's probably going to try and think about the move into turn 15. Will we see that aggressive move for Lando? Of course, many of you are saying that he should. Many of you are saying that he should stay out there at the moment and stay on that pit stop. And he's getting very close to him on the rear there, and just wait for Charles Leclerc to pit at right now. But 3.5 temps, he's very close. Can he stay close within turn 19 and turn 20 though here? That is the question for for Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc, and he does. So it's all about attraction through turn 20, the last corner for Norris. He is closer than he has been for quite some time, as Bortoletto sets a fastest lap for himself down there at the back there in some clean air. But Lando Norris back up into turn 1. Does he have enough? Late on the brakes into turn 1. Still not enough, and he's coming unstuck right now. Update on Oscar Piastri, a 40.3 last lap around for Oscar Piastri. The gap is now 4 seconds to Lewis Hamilton. And as you can see right here through this section of corners, this is where Lando Norris loses the time. It's through turn 6 in particular that he gets that wash of dirty air. The car is very loaded through that turn 6 right-handed corner, and he just loses time. But this is the closest he has been through this section of corners for quite some time, I do believe. Let's see how he's breaking his down into turn 11. Update on the gap between Verstappen and Leclerc is 7.2 seconds now. And how about the traction out of turn 11? No, he doesn't get enough. 7 temps. It actually went out to 7 temps rather than reduce from 6 temps. So that is it right at this moment in time. Max Verstappen will be gaining 25 points on Oscar Piastri. Will be gaining 15 points on Oscar Piastri. That gap down to 40 points it will be right now if Oscar Piastri finishes P5. Lando Norris will gain 5 points on his teammate and reduce that gap to 17 points. But he would love an extra 3 points if he can get into P2 past Charles. You do suspect really it is only a matter of time for Norris to get past Charles, but this is getting in the way of Lando Norris even having an opportunity to attack Max Verstappen. Now, if there is a safety car, of course, that would be music probably to Lando Norris's ears. He would love really for that safety car to come out after Charles Leclerc pits so that he gets a cheap pit stop and then everyone is aligned up for the safety car restart and he is ahead of Charles. But yes, right now, he is stuck behind him with that gap increasing to Charles. But the task at hand is to get past that Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton is just sitting quietly behind this pack at the moment, looking after his tyres, probably going long. This is quite nice for Lewis Hamilton, to be fair, and for his opportunity here for his first podium in a Ferrari. Of course, he won the sprint race back in China, but an actual full Grand Prix, he has yet to step on the top steps of a Formula 1 race in the Ferrari. So this is faring well if you are a Ferrari fan and a Lewis fan in particular. Oscar Piastri sets his fastest lap of the race finally on lap 18 last time around. 38 laps remaining here as Norris is a lot closer than he has been for some time. And, well, that's the first time in a few laps that traction out of turn 11 hasn't gone out. This could be the moment for Lando Norris here. This could be a very important moment in this race. Charles Leclerc will go defensive, no doubt, but will he have an answer? Will he have to leave room? They're side by side, and Lando still doesn't have enough on Charles Leclerc to get around him into turn 12. But does he have enough into turn 13? They're side by side again. It's round 2 for Charles and Norris has to back out once again, and he cannot make it stick past Charles Leclerc. And while there is a bigger picture here in this championship for Lando Norris, and he would be gaining 5 points on his championship teammates, championship leading teammate, you do suspect if this was Max Verstappen, you don't think it would take him this long to get past. And this is almost a deja vu of Lando Norris and Max Verstappen last year, if you remember. It took Norris forever to get past him, and eventually he picked up a 5-second time penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. So Norris is in the same position again, where he's just not able to execute the overtake on Charles. As a little bit of a naughty twitch there for Charles Leclerc. There was a little bit of a naughty twitch for Charles Leclerc there as he did a bit of a late defensive move. Charles has been very, very naughty, I think, this season in relation to some of his defensive moves. Norris actually ran outside of track limits, but I think because it is racing, it didn't count. So he is still on the 2 track limits violations right at this time. So yes, Norris still on 2 track limits violations. Isaac Hadjar has kept it within track limits since he got that black and white flag for 3 track limits violations, down in 17th place. But let's stay on board with Norris again, shall we? He's a bit further back this time around, but he is catching, and he's catching, but Charles will go defensive and do what he has done the previous 2 times they have gone into this section of corners. He just positions that Ferrari right on the inside line to make Lando go around the outside and cover more track. And at the moment it is working for Charles, and it is working for Max Verstappen, as that gap is now up to 9.5 seconds. So Lando Norris getting held up here by Charles Leclerc, something that he probably didn't expect would be the case, because Ferrari, well, where did Ferrari come from yesterday when it came to qualifying? Absolutely nowhere. And they now find themselves in P2, and Lewis Hamilton is just sitting pretty here in relation to his teammate and even Lando Norris. I still don't expect that Lewis Hamilton will have the pace, as Lando Norris has had track limits violation there. I'm really surprised there that that's a black and white flag for Lando Norris for track limits violation. I don't think that's fair. I think if you're racing and you're going wheel to wheel and and you don't gain an advantage, I don't particularly think a track limits violation there should be issued. But hey ho, Lando has been issued a black and white flag. If there is another track limits violation for Lando, he will get a 5-second time penalty. Fernando Alonso now has a track limits violation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cars, half of the grid here, have received at least one track limits violation here at Circuit of the Americas. And well, Lando is a lot closer than he has been any time. Surely this is it now. Surely Lando has to go for this move. He's got the DRS open. Will he get ahead of the Ferrari before they even head into the braking zone of turn 12? He does, but can he hold on to it? Does Charles Leclerc have a reply on those soft compound tyres, or just has he put up too much of an effort? And this is where it has now fallen down for Charles. And yes, you do suspect it has, because Lando now, at the fourth time of asking, on lap 21 of this race, finally gets past Charles Leclerc. He is up into P2. He will be gaining 8 points on his championship rival and leader, Oscar Piastri, who currently finds himself in P5. And he is now 10.5 seconds behind Max Verstappen on the same age of tyres. And well, Charles, he is not going to give this up though. He is still in the DRS of Lando Norris. He exceeded track limits through turn 9, apparently Charles Leclerc as well. So he's starting to struggle on those softs, understandably. 24 laps on those soft compound tyres they have done. The oldest out of anyone out there on circuit, as they were already 3 laps old. Lewis Hamilton is faring quite well here, as he has just been sitting pretty, watching this battle in front of him, looking after those medium compound tyres. A difference in strategy here. Split strategy for the two Ferrari drivers, and Hamilton could be on course to score his first podium of the season and his first podium ever in a Ferrari. Of course, we know the sprint race he did win there, but he isn't necessarily an official podium for him. So Lando Norris, hang on. As Lando Norris says on the radio, he goes, but I don't understand. But Charles Leclerc now could be losing 2 positions in 2 laps as his teammate comes past him down the back straight into turn 12. We know that there was no love lost between them, and Charles defended very harshly and aggressively to his teammate yesterday in the sprint race. Could it be the same here as they're side by side, the 2 teammates through turn 13? The Ferrari drivers, they're almost come to a standstill as they make their way through turn 13. They're still a side by side through turn 15. Who has come out on top there? I think Charles Leclerc has just, but Lewis Hamilton is all under the rear of Charles Leclerc as they're flat out through turn 17 and 18. Brilliant racing here. Charles is fighting for his damn dear life out there at the moment. He's not going to give up a position, and he's pitted. He is pitted. He fought that position hard, even though he knew he was diving into the pit lane. And Charles Leclerc is the first of those drivers up front to pit, as we expected he would be on that soft compound tyre. That promotes Oscar Piastri up into P4. And well, Charles Leclerc, where will he come out? And what tyre, importantly, is he going to come on? Let's see what tyre is he going to be put onto. Is it the hard compound tyre, or is it the medium? We will see as he comes out of the pit lane, and it's the medium compound tyre for Charles Leclerc. So is this the one-stop strategy for Charles Leclerc here on the medium, or is it a 2-stop today? We are yet to find out. We will find out, of course, later on in this race. I don't think the hard compound tyre. I think Pirelli, thankfully, guys, I think Pirelli have made that hard compound tyre too undesirable. And the medium compound tyre, there is tyre management that needs to be done out there to make this a viable one-stop today to the medium and soft. Remember, they have to mandatory change tyre compound here, so they have to either go to the hard or soft compound tyre in today's race. It is a 20-second pit stop lost time. The data probably shows that the one-stopper is the quickest, but if you want to be aggressive, you can go to that 2-stop. If there is a safety car, of course, though, it will put a massive spanner in the works for any of these drivers and strategy. But at the moment, Max Verstappen leads 10.8 seconds to Lando Norris, and well, what will be important at this stage of the race is that you can probably imagine Max will now try and build up a gap, at least a safety car gap between him and Lando, because Lando has undoubtedly used more tyre than Max Verstappen has in the first half of this race, as we're approaching the first half of this race. As Antonelli gets past Colapinto there, he's now up into 14th position, down 7 places after that collision with Carlos Sainz into turn 15, which brought out an early VSC. But yeah, Verstappen there, he will have much more tyre life at this stage of the race, as he's been in clean air. He's been managing the pace out up front, knowing that he's been putting out a consistent gap to Lando Norris as he was being held up by Charles, who is in P9 at the moment. He is 4.6 seconds behind Nico Hulkenberg, and he is just out ahead of Fernando Alonso. But yes, I think really the hard compound tyre probably isn't a viable strategy choice here today. I can't lie, I think Stroll's going to win. It depends on the tyre wear between Red Bull and Papaya. Well, that will be the case, Phoenix. Yes, 100%. We don't know. That's the variable today that we have yet to, this weekend, that we have yet to see. And to be honest, I have said before, I still have a question mark over the Red Bull's tyre management, as we have been at 3 race weekends previously where we have not seen any tyre degradation. Whereas here, we will see that. We know Max is very good on the tyres, but he is still limited to the machinery underneath him. That Red Bull has undoubtedly made performance gains on the McLaren, but in relation to tyre management, we know the McLaren has been supreme to the competitors. How much of an improvement has it made here? We are going to see today. I'd love to see if Norris is able to catch Verstappen. At the moment, he doesn't have too much of an answer. 11 seconds is the gap. I think right now, Norris is fighting for P2, solidifying P2, and would like to see a safety car so that he can have an opportunity at P1. He maybe wouldn't like it necessarily right at this moment in time, because Piastri is in P4, and as it stands, Piastri, Norris would be gaining only 6 points over him. He wouldn't be gaining the 8 points because Piastri has been promoted to P4 with Charles Leclerc pitting a bit earlier. But Piastri, importantly here, hasn't had the pace compared to the front runners today. 40.392 for Piastri. Norris has been in the sub-40s, as has Max Verstappen as well, as was Charles Leclerc on the softs, as has Lewis Hamilton as well. Lewis Hamilton did just have a track limits violation through turn 19, which is probably why his lap time did creep into the 40s. But we will keep an eye on Lewis Hamilton's lap times. He is in a good point in this race. It's an intriguing point of this race, as drivers will be coming in to make their pit stops, as Esteban Ocon does dive into the pit lane, started on the hard compound tyre, and he is getting onto, no doubt, that medium compound tyre with 32 laps remaining. And, well, I don't think that hard compound tyre is working today, guys. Lando is going to pit faster than Max. Well, we'll see what will happen. The undercut here is powerful, but there's no point making an undercut if you're 11 seconds behind the driver ahead. Track position right now is key, because if there is a safety car, you don't want to pit at the wrong time. Right at this moment in time, I know I keep saying it, guys. You guys have pointed it out to me, and I will get it printed on a t-shirt. And if you're doing a drinking game, have another shot. You don't want to pit. You probably don't want to pit. You want to hang it out for as long as possible. So, yeah, we will see. Safety car now will be perfect. It would be. It would spice things up for sure. It would spice things up for sure. But let's have a rundown of the grid, shall we? With 31 laps remaining, 26 laps have been completed here. Big thank you for everyone for tuning in, by the way. If you can hit that like and subscribe button. We're trying to hit 65,000 subscribers. Just seen we've rolled over to the 61,000 mark, so thank you. Verstappen leads P1, 11 seconds from Lando Norris, after Lando was unable to get past him into turn 1, and Charles Leclerc swooped around the outside of Charles and nearly had a go on Max Verstappen as well at the start of this race on the soft compound tyre. And, well, that has proper put a spanner in the works to this race for Lando Norris, and arguably it could potentially have ruined this race, I think, if you wanted to see, if you're a neutral and you wanted to see a battle for the lead, because Max now has a 11 second lead over Lando Norris. Lewis Hamilton finds himself in P3, 5 seconds behind Lando Norris, and he is starting to fall off the pace here. Now Norris and Verstappen are in a league of their own, it seems, with their lap times. 39.4 last time out, and a 39.5 for Norris. Hamilton, P3, as we just mentioned. Piastri is in P4. He is consistently slower than his teammate, on average about a second per lap slower. So whether that's just confidence or whether there is overhanging damage from that crash that happened on the Saturday yesterday in the sprint race, that is just putting him just really causing him to struggle here in relation to Oscar Piastri's highly standards. George Russell's in P5. He has been coasting around as well, following the rear wing of Oscar Piastri and not making a move, as Charles Leclerc makes an overtake on Nico Hulkenberg on his brand new set Fresher Mediums in P8. He's the only driver yet to pit in the top 10, and one of 4 drivers yet only to pit in this race. Yuki Tsunoda finds himself up 7 places. It's a great race thus far for Yuki Tsunoda, on merit as well. Yes, 2 of those positions were gifted to him because of Carlos Sainz and Kimi Antonelli having a collision earlier on in the race, but even so, he has 5 positions on merit, and he's up in P6. Ollie Behrman is in P7. Alex Albon has just overtaken Franco Colapinto there into turn 13. They're actually still side by side, I think, as Colapinto comes back at Alex Albon through turn 14. But then I think Albon is there side by side, and Albon then regains a position back. What a section of corners it is through turn 12 to turn 16. Love it through there. So many different lines, so many different opportunities, and we see so much wheel-to-wheel racing. Alex Albon moves up into P15, the solitary Williams car out there at the moment ahead of Franco Colapinto. Moving back up to the rundown of our grid, though, Hulkenberg, as he just got overtaken by Charles, who, as we mentioned, has pitted already, is in P8. Hulkenberg is P9. Alonso, P10, is a bit of a lonely race for him at the moment. Liam Lawson is in P11. Lance Stroll is in P12. He is up 7 positions as well on merit. He started on the soft compound tyre. Gasly is P13. Antonelli, the biggest loser here at the moment, other than Carlos Sainz, due to a collision with Sainz into turn 15. A bit overzealous for Sainz, personally. Albon in P15, we just saw overtake Colapinto. In 16th, Hadjar is up 3 places in 17th, Bortoletto is 18th, Ocon 19th, and Carlos Sainz is the only retiree of this race. So what are the number of pit stops per car? You can see that from the tyres allocations that you can see there. So if they have 2 tyres alongside their name, it means that they have made 1 pit stop, because it will be the tyre that they started on and then the tyre they pit on. As Max is told, tyres are becoming tricky. As GP reports on the radio, we believe the track conditions, we believe that the conditions are starting to change a bit. As we can see, the wind has picked up somewhat and is 17 kilometres an hour. 45.6 degrees is the track temperature. Very hot out there, and we do expect tyre management to be an issue here today. Some more so for other drivers, as Max did do a 26.6 in that first sector compared to Norris's 26.4. But 10.5 seconds is a nice buffer to have to second place, isn't it, if you're Max Verstappen? Lewis in P3. So George Russell is gaining slightly on Oscar Piastri at the moment, at 40.4 compared to Oscar Piastri's 40.8. And you can see there Piastri, just struggling as Gasly now dives into the pit lane and is coming off of those medium compound runners. So will this spring some pit stops here in the midfield with Pierre Gasly trying to do an undercut here? We will see. 29 laps remaining here in this 56 lap race. We are at the halfway mark now. I think we are. We're at the halfway mark here of this race. Yes, lap 28 of 56. Yes, what is going to happen, guys? What is going to happen? Max Verstappen is definitely in the ascendancy here. You think without any safety cars and any incident, there will be another win for Max Verstappen, and it will bring him closer to Oscar Piastri. With Oscar Piastri in P4 at the moment, that gap would be 38 points compared to the 15 it'd be 42 points compared to the 40 points that it was prior to Charles Leclerc pitting. But Charles Leclerc is making up some ground now as he has got past Ollie Behrman and is looking at the rear wing of Yuki Tsunoda on those mediums. So he is moving quite quickly and is the fastest man out on track at the moment with a previous lap time of 39.4. We'll see what it is when he crosses the line here. It's a 39.0 for Charles Leclerc. So yes, this race today is no doubt a medium to soft compound tyre race, and well, we'll see how they'll be able to make these medium compound tyres last, and that will be the question for Verstappen, and that will be what McLaren will be looking at as well. They'll be looking at the sector times intently to see the drop-off potentially of Max Verstappen's tyres, but Max will want to take it this car and this stint as long as possible, because the earlier he pits onto those softs, the more management he needs to do and the more fall-off there will occur on those soft compound tyres. Alex Albon moves up as Lance Stroll, and Antonelli moves up as Lance Stroll has dived into the pit lane as well. So we are starting to see a response to the undercut of Pierre Gasly there, who has gone onto the soft compound tyres. And it's a very long way, really, for Gasly, I think, to do 28 laps on a set of soft compound tyres. But you can't blame a guy and a team for trying in the form of Alpine, because, they are not in a good place right now. As Gasly gets ahead. Oh, no, he doesn't get ahead of Esteban Ocon down into turn 1. So we need to keep an eye out on any time there is side-by-side action up there on this track, because it could provide a level of drama at any point in this race. As Verstappen does a 39.8, that gap is 10.1 seconds to Lando Norris now, as Charles Leclerc gets past Yuki Tsunoda down into turn 15. So Leclerc, fastest man out on track at the moment, makes up a position on Yuki Tsunoda and finds himself back up now up into P6, and he will be looking at some free air ahead of him, with Russell and Piastri still yet to pit in this race, as is his teammate, as is Lando Norris. So last time around, Norris did a 39.5 compared to Verstappen's 39.8. Charles Leclerc did a 39.8 there trying to get past. As Piastri is told, I think it's difficult from here. That is what Piastri has informed the pit wall, so undoubtedly that probably means if we pit now onto the soft compound tyre, it will be a very long way to go. So we are in a tyre management phase of this race. Verstappen has a big buffer to him and Norris, so he can let that gap close, and I do expect this gap to close quite significantly. But will it be a competitive advantage when it comes to the end? I think Max Verstappen will still have enough, but we just don't know. With this being a soft compound tyre, we haven't seen a medium to soft compound tyre strategy for quite some time, let alone at a circuit like like here at Circuit of the Americas, COTA, where tyre degradation is definitely an issue. So with that hard compound tyre being too unviable in race trim, it's just too slow, it's not switching on. Drivers are out there having to try and force the one-stop strategy, make it work, do tyre management, and make the soft compound tyre, some of them, last 27 laps, like Yuki Tsunoda is going to do, as he dived into the pit lane there and comes out ahead of Kimi Antonelli. It's a very, very long way, in my personal opinion, of the soft compound tyre going to the end. So that is what these drivers are aiming for. Norris is gaining on Max, perhaps pit for Max. It's too early for Max to pit. As Piastri just said, it's too early for these guys on the mediums really to come into the pits and push those soft compound tyres to the end of the race. Remember, they don't even have brand new sets of softs available. They're all used at least. As Piastri is told, Russell is within undercut range. Would you prefer to pit first onto a soft or let him go and have to pass on track? Probably go first, is what Oscar is told. As Oscar Piastri, right on cue there, as I read that radio message, comes into the pit lane. So Oscar Piastri in the pits to avoid the undercut of George Russell. The undercut here is powerful, so if you pit first, it more likely means you're going to maintain track position. Update on Max Verstappen, 9.7 seconds is the gap to Norris and Verstappen. 4 tenths is the gap that Verstappen lost to Norris last time around. So he is chipping away at that gap, Norris, but Verstappen still has plenty in hand here. He'll be buying Charles Leclerc a beer, no doubt, at the end of this race, if it finishes as it does, because that is a significant buffer that Verstappen has been afforded thanks to Charles holding up Lando Norris. We are starting to see more pit stops now, and I think this is quite early still for the soft compound tyre. Oscar Piastri is on the softs, and, well, he did say that only a few laps ago, it'll be quite an effort to go long here. So we'll see what George Russell does. Does George Russell respond, or does he extend as well? And while the race is maybe thinning out a little bit right at this moment in time with 26 laps remaining, I think we are in for a very interesting and maybe dramatic end to this race, as we will see those who have pitted early, their tyres fall off, they have track position, and those who have extended on the fresher tyres being more aggressive, and we are most definitely going to see some on-track action before this race is finished, that is for sure. And anytime there's on-track action here at Circuit of the Americas, there is always the potential of safety cars. As Lewis Hamilton decides to pit as well, as he dives into the pit lane, 9.2 seconds behind Lando Norris. Remember, the pit stop lost time here is 20 seconds. That is the pit stop lost time here is 20 seconds. And, well, that is no doubt probably the gap that Leclerc and Lando Norris are looking at, or McLaren are looking at right now in relation to Charles Leclerc, who is 29.199 seconds behind Verstappen, 29.2. And, well, that's 20 seconds pretty much between him and Lando right now. So Lando Norris is going to extend. He is right in the pit stop window of Charles Leclerc and would find himself coming out behind Charles. Roles reverse, Charles on the mediums and Norris on the softs. So Verstappen is staying out there, as is Lando Norris, as is George Russell as well, with George Russell being closed down upon by Charles. 3.5 seconds is the gap right now. Lewis Hamilton comes out behind Nico Hülkenberg, who is still yet to pit. So it looked like a decent pit stop by Ferrari. Just watching the replay of that pit stop as Antonelli comes in for his solitary pit stop as well. So it was an okay... no, actually, it was a good pit stop by Ferrari for Lewis Hamilton. 2.6 seconds, so a good pit stop from him. Track limits update, track limits violation update. Bortoletto has 2. Antonelli has 2. Colapinto has 2. Piastri has 2. Norris has 3. Hadjar has 3. So Norris and Hadjar, if they have one more track limits violation, they will end up... they will end up with a penalty, but Norris now into the pit lane, guys. It does look like that he lost a bit of time in that lap, so he is now into the pits, Lando Norris. Lando Norris bottled Sector 2. It does seem like he did bottle Sector 2. Yeah, 40.9 there compared to Verstappen's 40.3. So he lost 6 tenths there, half a second on Verstappen in that middle sector. And maybe that's the reason why he's pitted. He is going to come out behind Charles Leclerc, as Charles Leclerc is going to hold on to P2 eventually when George Russell pits as well. And Lando Norris is going to have to get P2 done out on track. And well, he's on 6 lap hold, soft compound tyres. Watching the replay of Norris, watching the pit stop of Lando Norris, it's a 3.8 second pit stop for Lando Norris. Another slow pit stop for McLaren. Not the so the second. I don't know what Oscar Piastri's pit stop was. But Norris did call the box. He had that issue in Sector 2, and he called for the box. But that's the second pit stop again where the McLaren pit stop has been slow. So Oscar Piastri got the first pit stop. I think it was okay. I can't remember exactly what the pit stop time was, but 3.8 seconds is not exactly quick, is it, guys? So he is in P4. He is 4 seconds behind Charles Leclerc right now. So not a very good pit stop there from McLaren. They've admitted that they've got an issue that might not be able to be resolved until next season. Charles is closing in on Russell. Verstappen has been told to box and will be responding here. So Verstappen is going to be coming into the pit lane. So crunch time for Max. Importantly, Charles Leclerc, 26 seconds behind. Remember, it is on average, a 20.6 second pit stop lost time here. And if we see that, Verstappen will have a comfortable lead to George Russell, who is only coming around to turn 18 right now. And it does look like it's an okay pit stop. They had plenty in hand, and I'll see exactly how long that pit stop is. But Verstappen is going to have quite a significant advantage over Charles Leclerc. Remember, when Charles Leclerc pitted from Max Verstappen, the gap was around 9 to 10 seconds. And as Verstappen makes his way into turn 1, the gap to Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen is 6 seconds. And importantly to Lando Norris, who is just on the fastest middle and last sector, is 9.5 seconds. So the gap to Lando Norris is almost maintained. It's shortened a little bit, but Max Verstappen is on fresher soft compound tyres as well. And it was a 2.6 second stop by Max Verstappen, by the Red Bull team for Max Verstappen. So a very good pit stop from him. And that's over a second that Norris has lost on Max Verstappen there with that slow second pit stop. Charles Leclerc with those tyres up to temperature. This is going to be intriguing now. It's because will those mediums of Charles Leclerc fare much better for the remainder of this race, or will Max Verstappen's soft compound tyres last, and will he be able to hold them both off? We will see. It's going to be a very interesting end to this race. 23 laps remaining, guys. Just over halfway. Antonelli does the fastest lap of the race there, 37.577. We saw how hard Charles Leclerc was able to fight, but he was on the defence last time around on the softs rather than on the attack. So we'll see if Lando is going to be able to do that. Right now, Oscar Piastri would be losing 5 points to his teammate Lando Norris, as it was earlier on when Norris was behind Charles Leclerc. It's normal service resumed right now with everyone making their pit stops. So Oscar Piastri would move to 346 points with Lando Norris on 329, 17 points difference between them, and Max Verstappen, there would be 40 points difference between Max and Oscar, coming down dramatically this weekend. Ho, ho, ho. Will Leclerc pit again? I don't think so. This is a one-stop strategy here. There's a yellow! Ollie Behrman is round through turn 15. Is that going to be a retirement here, or a safety car, or a VSC? Is there significant debris out on circuit? I'm watching the replay to see exactly what has occurred between Ollie Behrman. It's a fight between him and Yuki Tsunoda. I'm watching the replay right now. The yellow flag has been removed. And who went for the move? Oh, my goodness. Yuki. What was that? That was a late defensive move by Yuki Tsunoda. And, well, Ollie Behrman had to avoid Yuki. He tried to send it down the inside. Yuki switched, dramatically went to the left, and Behrman had to go over the grass. He had to go over the dirt and spun the car. And he's very fortunate that he didn't go into the back of Yuki Tsunoda. And he's just been overtaken now, Ollie Behrman, by Nico Hülkenberg because of that, down into turn 3. Very, very naughty by Yuki Tsunoda there. He reacted. It was a reaction to the move by Ollie Behrman. I'd love to see the onboard of Yuki again to see what his twitchiness was there. Just watching the replay. Yeah, it's he moved under braking is what Ollie Behrman says, and I have to agree there. Oh, you see the steering wheel, left hand down. That should be a penalty probably coming Yuki Tsunoda's way. We don't like to see that. But let's have an update through the start up the top of this field. Max Verstappen, after the pit stops have been made, it is a 37.991 for him. He's just done the fastest last sector out of anyone thus far, and he is 6.7 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc, who is being closed down upon by Lando Norris, who is in P3, just did a 37.6 compared to Charles Leclerc's 38.3. Lewis Hamilton is down in 4th place at the moment in P4 as Ocon gets past Bortoleto now, down into turn 13. Ocon and Bortoleto almost going side by side there through turn 13. We're starting to see offsets here, tyre offsets, and drivers go side by side. And anytime drivers go side by side in these F1 cars, with how large they are, with the blind spots, as we just saw from Yuki Tsunoda, potential crashes can occur. We still have quite a significant way to go in this race. 21 laps remaining. Verstappen leads from Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris in P3, who is closing down on Charles. Let's see if there's any advantage gained out of turn 11. Yes, with those soft compound tyres, he gains some time on Charles, so he will be catching him sooner rather than later. Piastri, 38.6 for him last time around. He's still over a second slower than his teammate on average per lap right now. So Oscar Piastri, it's not been a very good race for him. However, damage control does look like, but George Russell might not be catching him. He doesn't seem to have the pace in that Mercedes. He was 4 tenths quicker last time around, but we know catching is one thing and overtaking is another. I'm not sure if he has the pace advantage over Oscar Piastri to overtake him, but we will see. Yuki Tsunoda, who we just saw there, I'm surprised it still hasn't even been investigated by the stewards or noted by the stewards for moving under braking there with Yuki Tsunoda and Ollie Behrman, as he is still in P7. Nico Hulkenberg is 8, Behrman 9th, Albon is 10th. He's up 8 positions now, as Behrman, because of that, has track limits violation at turn 15, which I think is utterly ridiculous, to be honest. But he has had to receive a track limits violation there for avoiding a collision. I don't think that's fair at all. But he has only had 2 track limits violations, so it's not a black and white flag for him, and he is able to continue. So if you'd missed the Dutch national anthem, I think Yuki was just surprised to see Ollie to his left. No, it was a reaction. He saw Ollie going up his inside and he reacted to cover it off. You can't do that. You just can't do that in any open wheel, in any motorsport racing, to be honest with you, let alone F1. There's hence why we see no move, hence why you shouldn't be allowed to move under braking. And I'm very surprised they haven't even noted it as an incident yet, as Bortoleto dives into the pit lane for another pit stop here. So Bortoleto going for the 2-stop. Is this a 2-stop here today? It'll be very intriguing to see if it actually is, but Bortoleto's definitely doing it, as is Alex Albon as well. But Alex Albon did pit on the first, under that virtual safety car. He is now onto the soft compound tyre. So, updates on Leclerc and Lando Norris's battle, as Lando Norris in P3 is 1 second behind Charles. Is he going to be able to get within that 1 second range of DRS through that detection zone, that pink dot that Max Verstappen is making his way through now, just before turn 19? I'm not sure if he's going to be able to. He is! So, look at that. You can see the interval is highlighted there, and as he goes past the pink dot, the DRS detection zone, he will now have the DRS activated. But does he have the level of traction in that dirty air? And that will be the key thing, won't it, for Lando Norris? Is he going to get stuck behind Leclerc like he did earlier on when at the start of this race? Or is he going to be able to dispatch him pretty quickly and try and go on the attack and close down Max Verstappen? We will see. Let's see how he fares through the middle sector. There's a black and white flag for Gabriel Bortoleto for track limits. Alex Albon also has a black and white flag now for track limits as well. We have 4 drivers out there: Lando Norris, Gabriel Bortoleto, Isaac Hadjar and Alex Albon, all on black and white flags for track limits violations. One more and they will receive a 5-second time penalty. And well, it does seem at the moment that they are giving track limits violations for even when you are going wheel to wheel and you have necessarily been forced off the track, or it just seems to be really that it is properly that as the flag is. It is very black and white. You're either in or you're out, regardless of the circumstance, which I don't entirely agree with when it comes to track limits violations. But anyway, here we go. Lando Norris down into the braking zone of turn 12, 4 tenths behind Leclerc now. Very good traction out of turn 11. Don't know if he'll have enough through into turn 15. Will he go for a late move into turn 15? He's 3 tenths behind. He doesn't want to lose any more time battling Charles Leclerc, but he's going to lose considerable time if he stays behind him. They are lapping the same lap times at the moment. Verstappen at 38.6, Leclerc is 38.6. Max at this stage of the race doesn't need to do anything stressful. He just needs to manage those tyres and ensure he has enough to get to the end of the race, and if Lando Norris has an opportunity to catch him, which would be a very tall order with the gap being nearly 7 seconds right now. Sainz tried to go at the inside of Antonelli and hit him. Yes, that was why Sainz retired earlier on. Pretty sure it'll take a while for Lando to catch Leclerc. Well, he's on the back of him right now, and he is 4 tenths behind, 7 tenths behind. He has a bit of a rear traction loss, it seems, out of turn 1 there. He was 4 tenths behind Charles Leclerc heading into the braking zone of turn 1. Maybe he had a slight little lock-up with the dirty air. Of course, while he is racing Charles right now, he has to be careful of track limits violations to ensure he doesn't receive a 5-second time penalty for his troubles as well. I'm watching the replay of Lando into turn 1. He just had a bit of a moment. He just had a bit of a snap of oversteer, mid-corner oversteer through turn 1, which lost him a lot of time to Leclerc, and that's why he's now only 9 tenths behind him as he comes out of the traction zone of turn 11. But Charles doing very well to defend here. Lewis Hamilton, update on him and his podium chances. Doesn't look like, unless there is a fall-off for Charles on these mediums, or there's a mistake from Charles, Hamilton isn't going to end up on the podium today. He's going to fall just short. Update on George Russell and Oscar Piastri. George Russell is catching Oscar Piastri. That gap is now down to 2.7 seconds. He has 3 lap fresher tyres than Oscar Piastri. And well, if it stands as it is right now and Lando Norris finishes P3 and Oscar Piastri finishes P6, well, there would be an extra 2 points on offer for Lando Norris. But of course, he wants to earn more than that if he finishes P2. And Max Verstappen would also love to gain more points on Oscar right now, with him gaining 15 as it stands. Lance Stroll might make contact. Can Verstappen get a Grand Slam? He can. Yeah, he can get a Grand Slam, I think. Yeah. If he gets fastest lap and he leads, he has led every single lap of this race thus far. So, yeah. He could very well get the Grand Slam. Still a long way to go in this race, though. 17 laps remaining. Closest out there on track right now is that of Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris. Nearly half a second behind Lando Norris is to Charles. That's much better exit out of turn 1 than it was last time around. But you see through turn 6, he loses the wash of dirty air. You lose so much downforce from the dirty air of the car ahead when you head through that high-loaded corner of turn 6. And that's why clean air is so important. And Lando will be leaning on those tyres and just utilising so much more of it than he wants to, especially compared to Verstappen. And you can see Verstappen's first sector time there was a 26.3. He is not leaning on those tyres through that first sector at all. He is looking after them, whereas Leclerc and Norris are pushing right now as they are fully on full throttle. Nightbot watches over us yet. Big thank you to Nightbot, just keeping the chat clean, and thank you to everyone who has been tuning into the live stream as well. We have 20,000 viewers in here right now, just short of it. Big thank you for tuning in to this United States Grand Prix. We're coming towards the closing stages of this race. Max Verstappen leads. Alex Albon going back down there to Alex Albon. He has just overtaken Pierre Gasly. We now have Kimi Antonelli. He joins the list. We have 5 drivers now on black and white flags for track limits violations. If they get one more, they will receive a 5-second time penalty. Lando Norris, Gabriel Bortoleto, Isaac Hadjar, Kimi Antonelli and Alex Albon as they get their confirmation of the black and white flag for Kimi Antonelli. So these drivers are all driving slightly within themselves to ensure that they keep this car within track limits, and that's no doubt holding Lando Norris back a touch as well as he is racing Charles Leclerc, and Charles will probably know that. He'll know that Norris cannot take too many risks in the overall grand scheme of the championship and also just in this race as a whole. But if you do suspect that I think if Lando has to take a track limits violation and it's a 5-second time penalty to the end, as Norris is reporting, the tyres are gone. That's what Lando is reporting already. Interesting. So 16 laps remaining. They're going to have to make these tyres last to the end unless we do see a second pit stop. Lando's Tauruses were a lot older than that of Max Verstappen, who had 2 lap-old tyres, whereas Charles Leclerc's were brand new they were brand new mediums. So here we go. He's gaining on Charles where it matters, but he just doesn't have enough. And well, he has to think about making it to the end of this race as well. Leclerc and Hamilton podium. Never say never, but I mean, Lewis is 10 seconds behind, and he is probably doing the same thing thinking about managing this race to the end and trying to make this one stop work. And well, Max has not been put under any pressure at all throughout this race, and he has most undoubtedly had to look after his tyres. As Verstappen has been relayed the message that Lando's complaining about his tyres now, this will be more fragile. So they are asking the questions, the engineers right now, they are asking the questions of whether they think the tyres will get to the end of the race. So it is touch and go for these guys out there. It was a very long way to get these tyres to the end, the soft compound tyres, and it's going to be very intriguing to see if we maybe see a late pit stop. Who will potentially pull that trigger first? You're going to suspect that Lando is going to stay out there. They're going to hold on to track position. Hamilton may pit. George Russell, I think George Russell may be the only driver who takes a punt and goes for a second pit stop. We'll see. But yes, going to be intriguing, these tyres. Could we see maybe some potential blow-ups towards the end of this race because of these tyres going a lot longer than Pirelli even suggested that they would? Track temperatures at the moment, 45.7 degrees, so that's not helping as well. It stayed constant throughout this race. George Russell is the only driver in that top 6 who has been gaining on the driver ahead, and you can see Lando, who had been complaining about his tyres, is now falling back off of Charles. And no doubt, this is probably a management phase for Lando now. He has to drop off, find some cool air, and ensure that he makes it to the end of this race, with Lewis Hamilton, of course, 9.3 seconds behind, with 3 lap younger, fresher tyres than that of Lando Norris. Lando needs to ensure that he is able to make it to the end, and, well, maybe he'll have a late go at Charles. But even P3 right now, he'll be gaining 5 points on Piastri, and it could be even more if Russell is able to overtake Piastri, who he is gaining on slightly at the moment. Can I add any radio messages? No, I'm not adding radio messages. I've had this discussion many a time before. It's primarily due to it clogs up the stream, and they just move too quickly, but you don't really gain any relative information from them. If there are radio messages, I'm listening to the TV coverage as well, and I will relay them to you. Hamilton's on 12-lap old tyres. The mediums were the tyres he started the race on. Indeed, he was. 15 left. Where's George? George Russell currently in P6, 2.8 seconds behind Oscar Piastri. Lewis Hamilton in P4, Norris P3, Leclerc P2. So looking at the TV coverage right now of of McLaren's tyres, there's a little bit of blistering forming on the tyres of Lando's front left in particular. Now, what does happen with the blistering of tyres? It is normally due to the thermal degradation. The tyres get hot. I can't remember if it's the carcass that gets hot, but basically you start to see a line form on the edge on the tyre. But what happens is that you will lose grip for a period of time, and then that grip, you'll work your way through it, and then the grip will return to you. So that is what is happening right now, and that is why Lando has dropped back to 2.5 seconds just to look after his tyres somewhat more. He was 39.7 seconds. He was a full second slower than Charles Leclerc there, with 14 laps remaining. Is this enough for these tyres to get to the end? It's going to be very intriguing to see if anyone does decide to make a pit stop. They don't want to make a pit stop because if there is a safety car, they would lose track position. If they make a pit stop right now, they're going to be losing track position anyway, because if Verstappen, as an example, pitted right now, he would come out behind Leclerc, behind Norris, and behind Lewis Hamilton, ahead of Oscar Piastri. So they don't want to pull that trigger first and pit. They're going to try and make this last to the end of the race, but these lap times are getting slower, and this is the first time in a very long time that we have seen actual degradation on tyres. For so long now, we have seen tyres actually get quicker and quicker, or lap times get quicker and quicker, as the tyres have not required any management, and this is what we are seeing here. This is why Pirelli brought a step harder, skipped a step in compound for the hard to the medium to ensure that the hard compound tyre would be an unviable choice when it came to a race tyre, and that is what we have seen today. I don't think Hamilton can get a podium right now, not as it currently stands. He's 8.8 seconds. He gained last time around on Lando Norris, but only by a couple of attempts, and similarly to what Verstappen's position is to Leclerc, Norris's position to Hamilton is that he has plenty of buffer to Lewis, and he doesn't have to worry about him. He can look after his tyres, especially as he has only one track limits violation remaining before he receives a 5-second time penalty. So the closest drivers out on track at its right now is Lance Stroll to Liam Lawson for P11. Lawson is closing down on Fernando Alonso as well, who we know there's no love lost between Fernando Alonso. We know Fernando Alonso hates any sort of motor racing because how dare people go racing against Fernando Alonso. But you can see that Fernando Alonso losing quite a bit of time significantly to Lawson in that middle sector there, as Lawson is now within the DRS of the Aston Martin driver. He's the meat in an Aston Martin sandwich at the moment, with Alonso ahead of him and Lance Stroll behind. Lance Stroll is on mediums and Alonso is on softs. Lawson on softs, but he's on 3-lap fresher tyres. Update at the front. Charles Leclerc is 6.8 seconds behind Max Verstappen, setting the top three are setting almost identical lap times at the moment. 38.7, 38.6, 38.7 from the top three. Jumping back to Fernando Alonso and Liam Lawson. Lawson did gain there, but not enough to get past and make an attempted overtake on Fernando Alonso. So getting close between those. Also getting close between Pierre Gasly and Isaac Hadjar there down into P12. Anytime these drivers go side by side, there could potentially be a crash. Will Lando pit? I don't think they will. I think we're at the stage of this race with 12 laps remaining. You're giving up a significant amount of time. Now, if Lando pitted right now, he would end up behind Piastri. Now, imagine the stories. Now, would he have the tyres to potentially overtake Piastri? Yes, but he'd have to overtake George Russell as well. And it wouldn't be enough of an advantage, points advantage over Piastri where he is now in P3. So it's going to be interesting. I think these drivers are definitely going to be trying to make this last to the end, and we're just going to see these lap times get slower and slower. And well, we could see mistakes as we get into the closing stages of this race, or into the last 10 laps of this race. As Isaac Hadjar is very close to Pierre Gasly there into the braking zone of turn 1. He's almost going for an attempted overtake down into turn 3, as Hadjar has to back out of the section where he crashed yesterday in Q1. So Hadjar looking at a move of Pierre Gasly there. Does someone have a penalty? Not right now. No one has a penalty right now, but there are 5 drivers who are at risk of a 5-second time penalty if they exceed track limits one more time. Charles Leclerc is going to win. He's not going to win, but he's doing a very, very good job, and Ferrari have done a very good job today. Started on the softs, and he's now on the mediums at the end. He did a tremendous job in holding off Lando Norris, and, well, you have to think Lando Norris should have been more aggressive, as he should have been last year, fighting Max Verstappen, and, well, he ended up just getting stuck behind Charles Leclerc. He's currently 2.6 seconds behind Leclerc, and will he have enough in the last 10 laps to have an overtaking opportunity at Charles? I'm not entirely sure. He has dropped back into a window of 2.5 seconds to look after his tyres to ensure he can make it to the end. Max Verstappen, other than a safety car, I think you can confirm he is going to win this race, and he will gain 15 points over Oscar Piastri. That will be 23 points gained this race weekend over the championship leader. What an advantage that would have been. What an advantage that is for Max Verstappen, bringing that total behind Oscar Piastri to comfortably under 2 race wins. But why did Charles defend so hard against Lewis when on another strat just before the pit stop? But because he probably just probably because he wanted to. Simple as that. He just wanted to. Purple dots on the track, or pink dots on the track, are DRS detection zones. Did I bash Alonso? I did a little bit, yeah. Because whenever someone goes racing against him, he has a hissy fit. Listen to the radio messages of Alonso. I like Alonso, but he does get a bit precious when someone dare attempts to defend against him or race against him. But every racing driver does to some extent, but Alonso more so. So yeah. What happened to Carlos Sainz? If you're just tuning in, Carlos Sainz is the only retirement of this race. He crashed out after making an attempted overtake on Kimi Antonelli. He went into the side of Antonelli, spinning him around, and he had to retire from this race. It's also why Kimi is down 7 places right now with 10 laps remaining. Piastri and Verstappen, simply lovely. Norris crashes into the... No, he isn't gonna crash. Also, P2 and the Constructors seems extremely close now as well. It will be. Not really anyone cares so much, but they're 30 points Ferrari will be gaining. 8 points for Mercedes with George Russell in P6, a solitary driver, Mercedes driver in P6. So, yeah, it's still up for grabs. Only 33 points separating Mercedes to Red Bull. Ferrari on 307 if it finishes as it currently does. So Lewis Hamilton has just had a track limits violation as well at turn 19. So that is 2 for Lewis Hamilton. Oscar Piastri also has 2. He picked those up very early on in the race. But the top 7, top 10 really, no one's really making gains. The only driver making gains out there right now is Lance Stroll on Liam Lawson, who is stuck behind Fernando Alonso and in that Aston Martin sandwich. Norris is starting to gain on Leclerc. So, is this now the charge of Norris back again onto the rear of Charles? We will see with 9 laps remaining as Max Verstappen crosses the line. Max has this in the bag and he'll have to buy a beer for Charles Leclerc after this race, you do suspect. There's no guarantee that Lando would have even got past Verstappen anyway. But he has undoubtedly made his life considerably easier today by holding up Lando Norris. And, well, that gap is now down to 1.7 seconds from Lando Norris on Charles. Has he got enough left in those soft compound tyres compared to Charles? Because Lando Norris just did a 37.7 compared to Charles, who just did his fastest lap of the race, a 38.2. Half a second gain by Lando. So he will be on the back of the Ferrari of Charles very shortly. Antonelli gets past Kimi, and Kimi Antonelli gets past Esteban Ocon down into turn 12 there, and he moves up into P13. He'll be looking to try and catch that pack of Lance Stroll, Liam Lawson and Fernando Alonso, who have been in that order for quite a few laps now. As results currently stand, there'll be a 10-point difference between Mercedes P2 and P4 Red Bull in the Constructors. Potentially, we'll have a look at the drivers. We'll have a look at the overall championship permutations and driver standings after this race has ended, because of course there is still plenty of laps remaining and anything can still happen. That update though on that gap between Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc is 1.5 seconds. Not entirely sure why the interval time there is not highlighted to ensure to indicate that Norris is gaining on Charles, as you can see, as is George Russell on Oscar Piastri there. So Oscar Piastri now needs to be careful a bit, as maybe George Russell is starting to go on the push here and catch Oscar, who has had a very poor race weekend. That is a bit of an understatement. There we go. Last couple of sectors there. That gap has really come down as Norris is only 1.1 seconds behind Charles Leclerc now. So, he's made up a significant amount of time in that last sector. 4 tenths he's made up. Wow, he's made up nearly a whole second there. About 7-8 tenths he's just made up, Lando Norris, on Charles Leclerc in that last lap alone. But he is now fully within the dirty air of Charles. So, will he be able to get within that DRS? And we know that catching is one thing, overtaking is another. And we've seen Charles defend very valiantly and smartly from Lando throughout this race. And also, Lando needs to be careful that he has only one more track limits violation, otherwise he receives a 5-second time penalty, and that would be quite a tall order to make up 5 seconds on Charles Leclerc if he does overtake him and picks up an off track in the battle, in the process of fighting Charles. So here we go. He won't have the DRS open at the moment, but he is 1 second behind Charles Leclerc. He will be gaining. Will he be able to get in the DRS as they get under the braking zone of turn 12? Maybe, but he's going to have that traction, no doubt, through this last sector where he closed up dramatically last time around. 0.9 seconds there, confirmation, but can he stay in that DRS? Can he stay within 1 second and be within that 1 second as he crosses the DRS detection point where that pink dot is on your track map right there on your screens just past turn 18? He is undoubtedly going to be there as he's closing. He has so much more grip even in the dirty air of that Ferrari through that last sector. And well, is he going to lose time into turn 20? He's keeping it within track limits, no doubt, and DRS will be open here. He loses a bit of time, maybe being a bit cautious with track limits and not pushing it too far as they head down or head up into turn 1. The elevation increase there into turn 1, and well, it is definitely race on now with 7 laps remaining. Awesome TV direction again, keeping the second camera on Hadjar, while Antonelli overtook Ocon, and they still haven't realised there was an overtake. Yeah, I'm so glad that many of you choose to experience the F1 races with myself on this watch-along, and I also enjoy. I used to watch F1 all the time with the TV direction, and I'm so glad that I don't now, and I watch this race primarily through this. So big thank you for tuning in, guys. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let's get this stream to 62,000 subscribers. It'd be much appreciated. Over 20,000 of you here in the stream. Welcome back as always. As we head back to the action, Lando Norris is got DRS open. He's 7.5 tenths behind, and I don't think that's going to be sufficient to get past Charles Leclerc down into turn 12. We have seen this battle repeated a few times already in today's race, and we know that he needs to be at least under half a second heading out of turn 11 to get anywhere past Charles Leclerc into turn 12. But he does have extra grip through this sector, and well, with Charles, if he forces him offline and he gets a better traction on those soft compound tyres, Charles has been on those mediums for quite some time, but so has Lando Norris. Let's see if he's able to gain through turn 17 and turn 18 here. He is gaining. Look at that. He's even gaining a slipstream through turn 17 and 18. They're flat out through there. Needs to keep it within track limits through turn 19. And that's why you see him lose a bit of time as they head into the braking zone of turn 20. But he is half a second back from Charles as they make their way down the start-finish straight up into turn 1. Is he going to be able to go for a late move here? We have seen it before. And he's late on the brakes to Charles. He's maybe forcing him out of position here. They're side by side, and Charles just holds on, and Lando has to think about it for just a bit longer, but he's probing right now. At this moment in time, Lando Norris, 3 and a bit tenths behind Charles Leclerc, pushes out to half a second. Can he keep it within half a second out of turn 11? There is some lap traffic coming up, but is the lap traffic going to arrive too late? We will see. Lando, half a tenth there, 4 tenths behind Charles Leclerc now. It's all about the braking into turn 11 in this traction. Out of turn 11, he's 4 tenths. Will that interval come down? It's only gone up a couple of hundredths. Here we go. It's a drag race. DRS open. Down into turn 12. Will Lando get ahead of Leclerc down into turn 12? We saw Leclerc defend heavily earlier on to not only Norris, but his teammate in the sprint race. They're side by side into turn 12. Does Lando keep it within track limits? Does he come out ahead? And he does for now. But we've seen them go back at each other in this section of corners before. Will Leclerc go back at Lando into turn 15? Does he have an answer on those 20 old lap mediums? No, he does not. And Lando, if he has kept that within track limits, has got the job done, and he's up into P2. And well, he had more than enough speed down into turn 12, and it was a very, very simple overtake for Lando on Charles. Charles tried to defend, but he just does not have the grip. Lando kept it within track limits, and Lando is up into P2, but Charles still has the DRS. This is not over with by any means possible. Let's see if Charles can come back at Lando here. But what that does to the championship standings is that Lando Norris will gain 8 points on his teammate, and he will reduce that gap down to 14 points. That is what the gap will be, down from 22 to 14 points, and Lando Norris is in P2, and you can see there with Charles in the dirty air through that section of turn 6, 7 and 8, just loses so much time. He's lost half a second through the start of the second sector there, and he's out of DRS already of Lando Norris. And Lando, while he's not going to be able to win this race today with only 4.5 laps remaining, he has been able to get past Leclerc. He very cleverly backed off, complained about his tyres, and as Leclerc is reported, he's on 3 strikes, but I don't think he's going to have an answer to Lando Norris, who backed off, called off those soft compound tyres, got them into a nice window, worked through the graining, and then ended up getting past Charles. But you know what? What a race weekend it still is for Ferrari, with Charles Leclerc in P3 and Lewis Hamilton in P4. Who would have expected that Charles or Lewis would be where they are? I definitely didn't. Definitely after qualifying on the sprint quali on Friday and the sprint race yesterday. So yes, this has still been a tremendous performance from the Ferraris. They definitely found something, and well, hopefully they don't get disqualified, guys. I really hope that they don't. But Charles Leclerc is now losing considerable time to Lando Norris. 2.4 seconds is the gap, and he has lost all of that advantage that he had in those mediums. They have started to fall off, and Lando is now putting out a gap to Leclerc, and with 4 laps remaining, Verstappen leads 8.5 seconds from Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc P3, Lewis Hamilton is P4, Oscar Piastri is sitting in P5, and well, do you know what? It's still not a bad day. It's not a great day at the office. It's not a good day at the office. But damage limitation for him finishing in P5, because it could have been a lot worse. But he's definitely been not at the races. But that championship gap is definitely decreasing. We'll have a look at the championship standings once this race ends, guys, and we'll sit down and have a chat through everything that has happened in this race and maybe what we got to expect in Mexico next week. This rate is a podium for Ferrari. After yesterday, I could not predict this. I agree, Phoenix. I did not think Ferrari had an opportunity at a podium at this race. Even in the last few races of the year, I thought they would have to have carnage in front of them to benefit from a podium. But no, they are there on merit. So fair play to Ferrari, and hopefully everything is within legal limits, as we know they've had issues there throughout this season. But closest out there on track right now is the two Alpines further down the grid. They're fighting with so Esteban Ocon and Alex Albon are close, but there's a battle at the back for P17. Pierre Gasly, P17, Colapinto in P18, and Bortoleto in P19. And I think Colapinto's going to go for a move on his teammate here down into turn 1. Is he going to go for a move? Are we going to see the two Alpine drivers collide here? No, they're still going. So fair and respectful racing between the two Alpines. Right now, though, with 3 laps remaining, Max Verstappen leads by 8.6 seconds. He has had no challenge today. He led into turn 1. A great start from him. It's been a perfect weekend, and well, I don't quite think it's going to be a grand slam because he will not pick up the fastest lap of the race, but he has definitely been close to it, as he has led every single lap of this race. He led every single lap of the sprint quali, and well, it is pretty much a perfect weekend for Max Verstappen, especially considering that the fastest lap is no longer an extra bonus point. So Verstappen leads from Lando Norris, 8.3 seconds. Charles Leclerc, third place now. He's 4.4 seconds behind Lando. He is just looking to bring this Ferrari home and solidify P3. Lewis Hamilton, 11 seconds back from Leclerc. Did look like at one point that Hamilton was sitting pretty on his medium compound tyres, making them last, but he just hasn't had enough to get that elusive first podium in the Ferrari for this season. But still, a much better positive result for Ferrari all around. Oscar Piastri is P5. George Russell is P6. Tsunoda up into P7. And I'm still very, very surprised that Yuki Tsunoda has not been investigated for moving in the braking zone. I'm still very surprised that he hasn't received a warning for that or an investigation for that. So that's quite bizarre, to be perfectly honest with you, with that reactionary defence to Ollie Behrman. But here we are. Nico Hulkenberg up 3 places into P8. He is looking like he's going to get the result that he fully deserves after yesterday, unjustifiably being taken out at turn 1, as Colapinto has been... Colapinto has been told to hold on to positions. Colapinto and Gasly have been told to hold on to positions, and Colapinto has just complained on the radio saying, but he's slow, and got ahead of Pierre Gasly anyway. So Alpine drama, inter-team drama at Alpine, when they're in 17th and 18th. Unbelievable there. I'm surprised that the two cars, they've been asked to just manage and not go racing. Let them race. Let them race, ladies and gents. But we are on the penultimate lap of this race. Alex Albon, there's still battles happening out there. There's still wheel-to-wheel racing, as Alex Albon and Esteban Ocon have just gone side by side through turn 13. And Albon, who started 19th today, or in 18th I think it was, definitely down in the bottom 3, is now up into P14. One of the only drivers to make one of 2 drivers to make a second pit stop today. And well, he's the solitary Williams driver out there with Carlos Sainz's retirement earlier on in the race, which brought out an early VSC, but no full safety car here. But Isaac Hadjar there, as Verstappen will make his way around the last couple of corners for the penultimate time, and he will have around 1 minute 39 seconds of this Circuit of the Americas and left to navigate, as there is a blue flag waved for Franco Colapinto. As Verstappen has navigated that traffic, that gap has come down to Lando Norris, 7.1 seconds, but yeah, Max has plenty in hand when it comes to tyres. He has managed this race perfectly from out front, and I think, yeah, most undoubtedly he'll be wanting to buy Charles Leclerc a beer after the interview and media duties have been attended to. But Max Verstappen makes his way through the second sector. He's going to close his championship lead down to 40 points. 25 points compared to Oscar Piastri's 10 points. 15 points gained. It was 55. Is going to come down to 40. And that is going to be 23 points advantage gained in this race. It is a significant amount of points that he has gained on Oscar Piastri over the past 4 race weekends. It is unbelievable. We'll have a look exactly at how many that is. But yes, it is going to be definitely going down to the wire, I believe, as it is coming to crunch time for Oscar Piastri, crunch time for Lando Norris and Max Verstappen, who has been there and done it 4 times previously, and is looking like he could do it for a 5th. And everyone, most neutrals, considering all the papaya rules nonsense, would probably love Max Verstappen to get involved and upset the papaya apple cart. But Max Verstappen makes his way around the turn 17, turn 18 corner for the last time. Flat out for Max Verstappen. It has been a tremendous drive today. It's been a tremendous weekend. A perfect weekend for Max Verstappen. He couldn't have asked for more other than the McLarens colliding today as well. And he takes the checkered flag and wins the United States Grand Prix. 3 out of 4 wins in the last 4 race weekends for Max Verstappen. Lando Norris crosses the line in second after getting caught behind Charles Leclerc, who had a brilliant start and on merit gets that Ferrari into P3 on the podium. Well done, Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton, in the closing stages there, has come under attack from Oscar Piastri. And Lewis Hamilton has a 1:43.1. I'm not entirely sure what happened with Lewis there on this last lap. Oscar nearly caught and overtook Lewis to get P4 at the end of the race there. Oscar Piastri in P5. George Russell finishes in P6. Yuki Tsunoda coming around the last corner right now. That's how far ahead the front 6 were compared to the rest of the field. Yuki Tsunoda finishes in P7. Nico Hulkenberg, well done Nico Hulkenberg, in P8 for him. Ollie Behrman, he comes across the line in P9, a very well-deserved point for him. However, he will feel a bit unjust with that late move under braking by Yuki Tsunoda that hasn't even been investigated. Fernando Alonso finishes where he started in P10. Liam Lawson is in P11. Lawrence Stroll is P12. Kimi Antonelli collided with Carlos Sainz earlier on and finishes P13. Alex Albon is 14th. Esteban Ocon 15th, Hadjar 16th, Colapinto 17th, Bortoletto 18th, Gasly 19th, and Carlos Sainz is your retiree. And that is it for the Circuit Americas here at the Circuit Americas. Let's have a look at your championship standings, guys. So, cue the Jaws music. Max Verstappen is closing. He's closing 306 to 346. That is the points gap right there. 40 points difference. It is on, isn't it? It is on. Oscar Piastri, 10 points for him in P5. He loses 8 points to Lando Norris. And, well, that gap is now 14 points to Lando. That is 2 race wins for Lando. Now, it doesn't look like McLaren can win at the moment, obviously. But that is 2 race wins for Lando. He wins the next 2 races. Of course, Max might win those next 2 races. But if Lando wins the next 2 races and Oscar doesn't, finishes second, he will end up being level on points. Ashley, thank you for the $10, by the way. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Thank you for everyone for tuning in, by the way. Hit the like and subscribe button, please. It really does help the channel. And yeah, we're trying to get this stream to... Go on, hit the subscribe button and get the stream to over 62,000 subscribers. It'd be much appreciated. We'll be back, of course, for the black and white flag for Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, we'll have a look at the track limits violations in a second. But yeah, be much appreciated if you get the stream to over 62,000 subs. And we'll be back for the Mexico Grand Prix next week. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Rob. Much appreciated. Thank you for all your kind words. Look... I think, of course, in the overall grand standings, why can I start a poll? Oh, I left the poll up all race of who I think will win the US Grand Prix. It's got nearly 20,000 votes. I'll go do driver of the day first. Let's do driver of the day. Hang on. Driver of the day. It did, Gamer. Yeah, appreciate that, buddy. Yeah, I had to do the same and it sorted itself out. Driver of the day. Who have we got here? You could say Sonoda. I think you could say. Do you know what? I think you could say. You've got Sonoda. I think that's really it, to be honest with you. And maybe Hulkenberg. No, I'm not going to say Hulkenberg because I think while it was good for Hulkenberg, I don't think it was very justifiable. I don't think he. So, Lewis, I don't know. I don't think Lewis deserves driver of the day, to be perfectly honest with you. So, let's have a look at the track limits violations. So, you can see here, track limits violations that, well, Norris had to race from lap 19. Lap 19, he had to race with 3 track limits violations. So, one more, and he would have ended up with a 5-second time penalty. Gabriel Bortoletto, Isaac Hadjar, Antonelli, Albon, Colapinto, Hamilton. Hamilton picked up a big... I wonder if Hamilton had a blowout in the last lap or so, or he must have had a big off, Lewis, because Oscar Piastri caught up so many seconds on him in the last lap. Lance Stroll picked up 2, Piastri picked up 2. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 out of 20 cars picked up at least 1 track limits violation. And guess who didn't pick up a track limits violation? Max Verstappen. So I know why people will vote Max Verstappen, of course, if he's your favourite driver. I personally think it's Charles Leclerc. I think Charles Leclerc had a tremendous race today. To take P2 away from Norris at the start of the race, to end up defending as hard as he did from Norris and positioning his car brilliantly on Lando for so many laps, and then to regain P2 with the pit stop and to hold him up again, and to put that Ferrari, as I mentioned before, he hasn't benefited from any carnage here. He's there in P3 on merit, and I think that was a tremendous drive from Charles. And I think personally, as I said before, Max needs to buy him a pint. He needs to buy him a beer after that, because he made his life very easy today. There's no guarantee Max wouldn't have won this race, of course, or Norris wouldn't have won it. There's no guarantee that Norris wouldn't have won this race, of course. But he made sure, because of that battle, that Verstappen never had a challenge today. And I think, yeah, I'd definitely be going... I'd definitely be sending Charles Leclerc a cheeky fire or a cheeky tenner at the end of the day so that he can buy himself a pint. Max is your driver, but you voted for Leclerc. Yeah, exactly. I think, look, what we do here is that sometimes there are drivers, sometimes there's drives, like Max has done, where it is driver of the day, where they've managed to race brilliantly from the front, and they've had to do a bit of defending and so forth, and there's the pressure element of it. Not to say that there wasn't pressure for Max today, because there is, because every single race matters, as it does for Norris and Piastri as well, to try and close down that gap in the championship. But he wasn't challenged today. So he didn't have that challenge from Norris. Norris, I get it. I do get it from Norris, because he's thinking of the championship as a whole. So he wasn't as aggressive with Leclerc as maybe he would have been if it was Piastri, because he knows he's still gaining 5 points if he finishes P3. But maybe he also knew in the back of his mind, it's only a matter of time before I get Leclerc. And that's still going to be 8 points on Piastri, or going to be significant points on Piastri, rather than causing a collision with Charles. And the last thing he wants is to take himself out of the race. So it's weighing up the percentages. So I get it, but you do know if that was Max Verstappen or someone else, he would have ended up overtaking Charles probably a lot more quicker and been a lot more aggressive. But yeah, Norris gains 8 points. That gap is down to 14 points now, and that is since Zandvoort, every single race, Lando has chipped away at that gap. It was, 30 points? Was it 30 points after Zandvoort? Was it 29 points? It was something like 30 points, wasn't it? And Norris has continually chipped away. And there's still 5 race weekends to go. 2 sprint race weekends as well. And, yeah, I think Piastri on the way it's going at the moment, I think Piastri is going to get caught. I think he is. He's going to get caught by Lando. He's going to get caught by Verstappen the way it's going. He's in a poor run of form. Was it 35? Even more so. He's chipped away and he's now down to 14 points. So as I said, there's 7 points difference between finishing first and second. Now, there's no guarantee, and it doesn't look like really that the McLaren's going to be finishing 1-2 anytime soon. But if Lando did win, say, the next 2 races and Lando and Piastri did finish second, then they're equal on points with 3 race weekends to go. So, but of course, we have the Max Verstappen in there as well. So this season is spicing up towards the end. Lando was being forceful but catches track limits too quickly, aka too hot-headed. I don't even think it was too hot-headed at all. No. I don't think it was too hot-headed. If Oscar doesn't come back to form, he could lose the lead in Mexico. I mean, that's the thing. It could be, but yeah, he does lose the lead in Mexico. I mean, 14 points is doable to lose. I mean, he lost 23 points here this weekend by crashing. He's just lost 15 points to Max in this race alone. The championship lead could change hands tomorrow. Not tomorrow, next weekend. As you say, in Mexico. Thank you, Nenny, by the way. Thank you for the 10. Much appreciated. Don't overestimate Lando's bad luck. I'm a supporter, but he always manages to get in trouble at the crucial moment. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look. He could have yesterday be within 7 points of Oscar. If he didn't get caught by Oscar yesterday, in that incident, it's all coulda, shoulda, woulda, of course. We can't go back in time. You can't change things at the end of the day. At least what I know of right now. And yeah, at the end of the day, he could have gained 7 points there and finished second behind Max. And he could be 7 points. He could be single digits behind him now. But, wow. Yeah, it's been, I'll admit, not the most exciting race. We were removed of a race-winning battle, of course, or the race for the lead because of Charles and Norris's battle, but at least they gave us some entertainment, at least, and it was interesting, so. True, like as much as I support Lando, his luck always sucks, so, yeah, but the luck goes different ways, isn't it? Like, that's the nature of a championship, and look, it all with some buts, but he's now, you could say, and I'm not, obviously Lando wants to win, but he could go at the end of the season, and if that gap is under 18 points, he's under 7 points, he can go back. He can look back at the championship and go, no, 20. Yeah, so he would have gained 18. So yeah, so he would have gained. He would have got 18 points for finishing second in Zandvoort. He ended up losing 25. If he finishes within 18 points, as he does now, within Oscar or Max, whoever it is, by the end of the year, he could look at that and go, that's the moment where, like, if I finished, I could have won the championship. But there's all ifs and buts, so many different permutations and stuff. I don't think you can look at it that way, but. Yeah, it's definitely going down to the last race, I think, guys. There's no way this isn't going down to the last race, so. If the Lando hate is forced, I do think he gets an unnecessary amount of hate compared to other drivers. You can dislike drivers, that's fine. I have drivers that I prefer over others. I don't dislike particularly any of them. But, yeah, he does get an unnecessary forced amount of hate. And, look, you can support your driver. That's fine, that's what we say here. You can want them to do well. You can want them to do better than the other driver. And it's okay to wish misfortune on another driver as well. That's sports. You want your driver to win. But some of the comments he gets is very unfair and just unfounded as well. So, no worries, Cantus. Good to see you. Ben was a solid pick for driver of the day. Pino off that Sonoda incident on tyres that became a mess. Yeah, he was a shout. I am really surprised. I want to show you guys the Sonoda incident, actually. I think it's worthy of discussion. I think it is. I want to show you it. I don't like this, and I think it should be penalised. I'm surprised that it wasn't looked at, and it was reactionary. And this is what you don't do in. This is what I hate to see. So let me show you guys. This is through F1. I hope you guys are able to see it. So you can look at that. Should have been reading the chat earlier in the race. For fuck's sake. Oh, appreciate you for keeping it clean, Taco. Appreciate you for keeping it clean. So Sonoda was great today. I think other than this moment, I think he had a great drive today. I think he really did. But this moment sours it. And I'm surprised he got away with it. So, see what the drivers have got to say in the cool-down room. Lando is quick, but he ain't an elbows out racer. I agree. I agree. And funny enough, the one time he got his elbows out, he's received repercussions from his own team. Yeah, I mean, that's why we try. That's why we've got Nightbot being quite stringent. I mean, I have to give a tip of the cap to and a round of applause to my mods. I mean, the chat, we do, unfortunately, with the success of the stream, the chat does get busy, and hopefully we try and keep it as a clean and respectful place as possible. I want you to root for the drivers that you support. I want us to have some friendly banter, because that's all fun. It's all fun at the end of the day. Hence why I had the comment about Alonso. I saw the comments about Alonso. I seem to have hit a bit of a spot when it came to Alonso. But it's just a bit of banter, because that's how he is. So it's a bit of cheekiness in the commentary. So it's where we're different when it comes to Sky and stuff. But yeah. Thank you, Skull. Much appreciated. He was not alongside Sibu. So in relation to him not being alongside, it's not about whether he's alongside or not. It's the fact of that there's a gap and Behrman is going for it, and Yuki, under braking, changes his direction. He reacts to Behrman coming up his inside while they're braking. That's a big no-no for safety reasons. Hence why Behrman took to the dirt to avoid the collision. Now, I think that should be penalised. And I think what the stewards have probably done is that because Behrman has avoided the collision, there was no contact and there was no damage caused, they haven't investigated it and they haven't dished out a penalty, which is totally wrong. I've said this before. If there is intention, like there was there with the reactionary move, just like there is in football with a two-footed challenge in soccer, you may not break the guy's leg. The guy may jump out of the way, but it is still a red card offence, and that player gets sent off because it is a professional foul. So yeah, that's it. That's my viewpoint of it. Look, you can disagree. It's all about having discussions here. But for me, and you can clearly see, you can see he opened the steering to avoid a collision, Nautius, but not before. If he was holding his line, and then he opened the steering as the reaction, that's fair. Behrman's gone for a gap that didn't exist. However, what you can see, and there's not an onboard shot of it, but you can see from the face-on shot that Yuki checks his mirror and turns. At the time, he knows Ollie is moving into that space. And then he opens. So it's a left. He's going straight, and then it's a left and a right. So his car, and these cars are so sensitive that is a big no-no. And especially at the track and the closing speeds of these cars as well, I'm not sure if it's 100% penalised anymore. And the thing is, this is what Max did. Remember when Lando and Max collided last year? Was it last year in Austria? I think it was last year in Austria. Remember when there was that battle between them? Max did the same thing. He was reactionary and jinked in the braking zone multiple times. And he didn't get penalised for it. He didn't even get a black and white flag. He should do. And the stewards even came out the week later saying they should have given Max a black and white flag for that, for moving under braking. And that's exactly what Yuki has done there, because it's just a big no-no. So, but if Behrman keeps carrying on, he's ramming straight into the back of Sonoda, and there's a big collision there. So, if Behrman didn't spin, then I've seen movement under braking from Charles. It's way more blatant and getting no penalty. It's the fact Behrman spins, which is a significant thing. Yeah, Charles is very bad at it as well. And I think Charles has been given a lot of freedom and a lot of bias when it comes to his defence. He even made a questionable defence in that same section before, in turn 13, I think it was. Heading into turn 13, he made a questionable reactionary move to Lando as well, heading into that corner. So Charles has been very naughty when it comes to defending this season. And I think that comes through frustration. But you can't do that. You can't do it. So... could Lando be disqualified? This would not be the first time a driver has been on the podium and got disqualified. What for? No, because he didn't exceed track limits. He didn't get a 5-second time penalty, so he's not getting disqualified. The only way drivers will get disqualified now is if they fail post-race scrutineering, so plank wear, there's the rear wing allowances or something are too large, that sort of element. The car is underweight. We have seen that, but I don't suspect any of that will happen. Moving under braking is extremely dangerous. Accidents like Alonso, Australia 2015, Valencia in 2010 with Webber, more explicit, 2003 Australia start. It's terrible accidents that can happen. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Haven't they given out penalties before for turning under braking without contact? They have, however, so I think what's happened is that it used to be in the guidelines, or it used to be in the racing rules, in the sporting regulations, that moving under braking is a 5-second time penalty, or it is a definite penalty. And what they've done is that they've quietly removed it. They've removed it from being a standard slam dunk penalty, which is utterly ridiculous. I don't know how that's quietly been removed. And now it's only a guideline, which is why it is never fully penalised. And that's why the stewards didn't get anything to Max when it came to like moving under braking when it came to Austria. And it was only after the case, after the race, the week after, they went, yeah, we should have given a black and white flag. And so it's all well and good in hindsight, isn't it? Why not do it in the moments? So, on Charles, he even admitted it once in the cool-down room. Can't remember race with incident with Max. His penalties are way overdue. I feel like with Charles, and I like him, I feel like there is a big accident coming his way. I really do. I think there's a big accident, and it could even happen. I reckon it could even come with his own teammate. I feel like there's a big accident, there's a big crash coming between Lewis and Charles. I mean, look at his aggressive defence to Lewis in the sprint race yesterday as well. And look how he's defended very late on George Russell multiple times this year. Like, at the ends of very long high-speed straights as well. And I think, and I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he wisens up. I think there is a big crash coming his way, and it could even happen with his own teammate. Just from what I've been witnessing. So, I think the false Lando hate is in response to what people perceive as official Lando favouritism, whether they think it's from McLaren or the British press. Yeah, I mean, look, that's just utterly ridiculous. And people always go, oh, it's because Sky is the worldwide broadcaster. Dude, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're the worldwide broadcaster or not. At the end of the day, the worldwide broadcaster is F1 TV anyway, primarily. And tune into any national broadcast. The Spanish are supporting Fernando Alonso through tooth and nail. You've got the Australians recently have been absolutely on it when it comes to backing Oscar Piastri. You've got the Dutch Viaplay. They massively are biased to Max Verstappen, understandably so. Same thing with, who else is it? The French as well. The French TV. I can't remember who are the French TV. Same thing with German TV as well. I think it was DAZN when it came to when there was German drivers on the grid. They're all biased as hell. Who cares? Who cares if they're patriotic? I don't care at all if you're patriotic. I really don't care, and I think it's a lame excuse, to be honest with you. So, and look, at the end of the day, if you want to be in an echo, and the thing is, what cracks me up is that when people go, "Oh, they're so biased," no, what you want is for them to be biased to your driver. If you're Dutch and you're a fan of Max Verstappen, you want them to be biased to Max. Let's be real, you don't want them to be fair and reasonable and criticise Max when he is due it. Same thing with Oscar. Same thing with any driver. Like, people don't want that. So this whole pretense of thinking, oh, we want unbiasedness. No, you don't. No, you don't. You want the commentators you're listening to your content creators as well to listen to speak highly of your drivers. And I get it. I totally get it. But what I do here is try and be as balanced as possible and call out everyone for their shit. So, neutrality is overrated, Andy. Exactly. But yeah, no, it's just a comment that really just like, it's a lame excuse. It's a lame excuse. And there's nothing wrong with biasness. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Exactly, it's sport. It's built on rivalry and bias. Exactly. So, yeah, same. It's already 6 a.m. Going to sleep right after this. No worries, Fredson. This is why I'm the best. Oh, thanks. So, yeah, look, I try and be fair and reasonable. I'll call everyone out. I'm not beholden to a TV contract or maintaining a paddock pass. So that's the thing. I can say what I like. And I do think I have seen certain content creators. I have seen them glaze certain drivers when it's not been deserved because they know it will get the views. Avoid criticism of certain drivers and teams because they have certain connections with that team, business connections. So you see it all the time. Craft Mama! But the Dutch do call him out. They have rivalry with the people there in the studio, but it makes it okay to watch. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's what I mean. If there's friendly banter to it, but that's what I'm saying is that I don't care. I like, and I think many of us don't care about this whole British bias stuff or even bias in general. Like, yeah, I fully expect if I knew Dutch, the language, and I went to watch, and I was in the Netherlands and I was watching an F1 race, and I was watching the Dutch TV coverage, I'd fully expect them to be rooting for Max Verstappen. 100%. I don't know why people are so shocked by it. I don't know why they're so shocked that maybe the Sky TV speak a little bit more highly and maybe give a little bit more of a buy to British drivers. So, you should expect it, not get annoyed by it. So, the only driver on the grid who can do no wrong is Mylander. Well, he can, because he can bin it, can't he, in Monza? Max takes into Lagos, not sure about the other circuits. So shall we have a look at the remainder of the calendar, shall we? Let's have a look at the remainder of the calendar. So F1 schedule. I will get you guys to rate this race as well. So let's have an end of our poll. F1 schedule there. Open image in new tab. So we have for this poll, let's have a look. Max Verstappen wins your driver of the day with 57% of the vote. Charles Leclerc 35% and Yuki Tsunoda 9%. I can see why Max would win driver of the day, but personally for me, I think it's Charles just purely because that Ferrari has no right to be on the podium, let alone fighting for P2 and holding off Lando Norris. So. But then that's your prerogative. That's totally your prerogative. But look, I don't think you should. I don't think that you should spoil the viewing experience. Should be spoiled by someone a commentator speaking a bit more highly of Lando. I think for the most part, commentators are, to an extent, they have their bias, but I think they commentate on the action in front of them. Some are better than others. So, would be an epic comeback if Max wins it. Oh, it would be history making. It will go down in history and something that is spoken about for forever, absolutely forever. F1 have not posted the slam, so I don't know. He didn't win the slam because the slam is fastest lap, and I don't think he got fastest lap. So it doesn't matter if he got the Grand Slam or not. He got sprint pole. He led every lap and won the sprint race. He got pole position here and he led every lap and won the race. I think Grand Slam also means fastest lap as well. I think that's what Grand Slam is. I don't think he got it. But it's not relevant anyway, really, because fastest lap is, you don't get a point for it anymore. So it doesn't really matter. Charles, what he did to hold off Lando today was extremely impressive in that broken wagon called a Ferrari. Yeah, I don't know. So Lewis made an interesting comment about the changes they have made from Saturday morning, the sprint race, to quali. And he said it wasn't just in relation to setup. he alluded, I can't remember exactly the quote, but he alluded to the fact of it, there was changes in the process. So there was things outside, and he was like, I'm really glad that the team listened to me. So, you know, Lewis, of course, has been pushing, he's written numerous letters, supposedly, about how to improve the processes at Ferrari and improve the team as a whole, outside of just the mechanical and the design of the car. He actually made mention of it, and he goes, and I'm glad, he said, I'm glad, paraphrasing here, I'm glad that the team listens to me with those. I'm really glad that they did. I'm thankful for it, and it made a dramatic improvement in both cars for qualifying. And clearly, it's translated to the race today. So, Charles won't have a plank left, Taco. We'll see. We'll see. I hope he does. For his sake, I hope he does. Piastri will be hoping both of those cars are disqualified. Imagine that. Then Norris only gains... so, what did Leclerc win? 15. Norris only gains 3 points on Piastri, if that's the case. Imagine. But the Ferrari does have the right to be on the podium because Oscars and George didn't have the car for this race. Yeah, but it's a credit and a testament to what they've been able to find over the weekends and throughout. Look, no one expected coming into this weekend that they were going to be fighting for a podium. I didn't. So, yeah, while Piastri and Russell weren't at the races, they still had to convert it, and Leclerc and Hamilton did. So. There's a video out there on Carlos driving go-kart. Absolutely insane. Yeah, it's really, really good how they can do go-karts. So should we have a look at the Kimi Antonelli one? So you've seen the Yuki one. Let's have it. I can't obviously show you live on stream. Let's have a look at the Sainz incident, if they've shown it. See if we can find it. Okay, so here's the Carlos Sainz one. Copy link. Here we go. Replace pin message. Thank you for all the subscribers, by the way, guys. If you could continue to hit that subscribe button and get this stream to 62,000 subscribers, that'd be amazing. I think Max is still going to continue to play down his championship hopes. I don't think he's going to do. I don't think he's going to do anything, to be honest with you. He does still need assistance from the McLarens. He needs them to have poor weekends. And look, ultimately, if Norris continues to finish P2 behind Max and be up there fighting, it's not just one driver that he needs to have an off day. He needs two of them. And Norris is closing that gap and going to catch Piastri much quicker than Verstappen is at the moment, even though Verstappen is evidently the man in form. And yeah, it's still really intriguing. I would have loved to have seen Norris and Verstappen fight. There was definitely tyre management that had to occur there. So yeah. I'd be interested now to... sorry, not 1 photo for Nanton in that, but that means no grand slam for Max. Yeah, there you go. What happened fastest pit stop? I don't know, but McLaren, one thing that was consistent is that their second pit stop, again, was slow. 3.8 seconds for Lando because he was the second pit stop. That is consistent. They've admitted that they have pit stop issues at the moment. I don't know which tyre it was. It was the right rear's turn. So I don't know if it was the right rear that was slightly slow. And I have to see a replay of Lando's pit stop. But yeah, McLaren definitely have an issue with the second pit stop because Oscar came in first to cover off the undercut of George Russell. It potentially cost Norris a couple of laps to overtake Charles Leclerc, but ultimately he was never going to catch Max. There just never was a gap. So you bet it was the right rear. I want to see. I so desperately want to see. So what do you think of the Carlos Sainz incident, guys? Have a check, and then we'll have a look at the remaining races of the year. So I'm watching it now. Let's have a look. He's locking up quite early, Sainz. Yeah, see, Sainz, I feel like Sainz, he says Antonelli turns too early into him, but you can see in the overboard, the outboard shot, but he starts to leave tyre marks on the track. So he already starts to lock up. He's already starting to lock up before that point of contact, before he, like, you see the smoke. Antonelli could have given him a little bit more room, but predominantly to blame there, I think, is Carlos. He's gone in just a bit too hot. And I think even if Antonelli left him room, I think Sainz is going to catch his left rear anyway. So... well, debatable. If he reaches Charles 2 laps sooner, the tyre difference would have been greater too. True. I mean, he could have catched... I just don't think he was ever going to close that gap to Max. I just think it was too large after the first stint. That all the work in that race was done in the first stint, and I just don't think Lando would have caught... I mean, he maybe could have caught Max. I just don't think he would have the tyre delta necessary to overtake Max. But then again, I do still think there's a question mark on the tyre management of the Verstappen, because he didn't have to push at all in that race. He didn't have to push at all in that race. So if Lando does catch him, and if Max was at any point under pressure in that race and had to use more of that tyre, who would have fared better? Would it have been McLaren? Would it have been Red Bull? And I still think that question was left unanswered today, personally. It's an interesting what if. It is an interesting what if. Because Max, as the leader rightfully should do, just has to manage the race. Ensure they've got enough tyres in them to ensure they've got enough grip for if there is a safety car, if there's an incident that occurs that closes up the pack, so they've got tyres, and just not do anything silly. They just have to manage a gap. They can allow a 9-second gap, 10-second gap to close to 4 seconds if need be. They're still 4 seconds behind. The old saying of catching is one thing, overtaking is another. But at not one point in this race today did Max Verstappen have to push, really, on those tyres. He didn't have to lean on them. He could manage them throughout. And I still... We're not going to get that question answered in Mexico. So let's have a look at the calendar for next season, for the remainder of the season. So we can see that... let me have a look here, hang on. So we can see that the last couple of races, we've got Mexico, we've got Brazil, USA, Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. So Mexico, there's never any issues with tyre deg. That's going to be a strong track for Max. So do not be surprised if he wins it. Vegas is a very unique track. It can be cold. It was very cold last year. They've moved the timing of the race to ensure that the track state is a bit warmer. We'll see if that has the same... that could be a very big outlier track. We could see a real shocker there, like we saw Mercedes last year win. Qatar is a track which is hard on the tyres. So that's going to be an interesting one for Red Bull versus McLaren. And then Abu Dhabi, to an extent, you do always have to be a bit careful with your tyres there as well. So it's going to be an interesting end to the last few... To the season. It's going to be an interesting end. Max is too good. Never would Lando have enough overspeed to overtake Max. Never. I don't think coming from that far back, no. I think if he'd stayed in P2 and Charles didn't get past him. So I want to see the restart of the race as well, guys. Let's see if I can find a clip of the restart of the race for you. I will go to... this one here, so I can't show you it. But the start of the race, I think Max actually... It's not untoward or anything, but I think... What happened here with Lewis? Hang on. What's this? Lewis and Charles battling. There's nothing untoward there. I don't know why they're questioning the moves. I wanted to see the start of the race. So let's see if we go F1. I think Qatar is through and through McLaren. Qatar and Abu Dhabi just difficult to overtake. True. Yeah, but also Singapore was. So Singapore was different because I think people expected, myself included, even with the downforce levels, I think we expected there to be more tyre temperature issues. Like the thermal degradation is normally a lot more higher at Singapore. And what there was, as there has been, it's been a theme. It's been a similar theme throughout this season. A lot of the tracks this year have had newly relayed surface. Not necessarily the whole track, but certain sections where that would normally heat the rear tyres up. And what that does is that negates any thermal degradation. It just keeps the tyres so much cooler. There's no rear spinning of the wheels. And Singapore normally does have some form of tyre thermal degradation. Now, overtaking is one thing there. We know that. So George Russell said it as well. He said, he goes, I would have put Singapore in my bottom 3 of races this year. He goes, but it just so happened the conditions fell into our lap. There were a lot of the corners were newly relayed, and that helped with tyre deg. There was no tyre temperature issues, which we normally see here, and I was able to manage the race pretty well because of it. So that's what we've seen at a number of races this year, and that's where the Red Bull has been very strong. The races where McLaren have been very strong is when there's been tyre offsets, when there's been tyre degradation. And even here today, but Norris, we know the McLaren isn't the best car to overtake in. That's the key thing here, is that McLaren is a good single lap car. It is. Although Max has now Red Bull have closed that gap and they're also matching McLaren in that sense. But the McLaren actually isn't a car that's really that good to go racing in. I think the evidence is there this season that whenever they find themselves not starting on the front row, they don't make overtakes. They really struggle to make overtakes. My pleasure, Monique. My pleasure. I don't know why Charles lost so much pace on a full battery while Norris had half capacity and still pulled ahead and left a comfortable gap in just a few laps. So it's because of the tyres. I think they just killed the tyres. And this is what we were talking about, where McLaren are just overall better on their tyres. I don't know the state of Charles's tyres at that moment in time because what happened, obviously we saw Lando having blistering. And normally what happens, sorry, just touching on the race start here. So I just want to have a look. So Lando basically got caught behind Max. Max got a good start again. So I'm watching the onboards of them. So, yeah, so basically watching the race restart again. My initial assumption that Max slightly holds up Norris is incorrect. What happens is that Lando gets an initial good first start of the race. His first phase is good. The second phase of releasing the clutch, he bogs down a bit, and Charles is much better on that soft compound tyre. Lando is blocked as well by Max ahead of him, so he can't do what he did to his teammate yesterday and release the brake and run through the corner. And Charles just has clean air ahead of him on the much grippier tyre and says, thank you very much, and comes out ahead of Norris. So, yeah. So, a bit of a poor start again for Lando. Otherwise, he may have covered off Charles. It still would have been close because if Lando got a better start, he still would have been very, very close to the rear of Max. And Charles was so aggressive around the outside that he nearly had a wheel alongside Max heading into the S's. So Max is moving all over the place defending against Norris. Charles even was alongside Max at one point. Yeah. I mean, look, overall, the battle in the race, I think everyone beforehand knew it was going to be between McLaren and Red Bull. And if it was going to be McLaren and Red Bull up front, then Max was going to be under more pressure. He would have had to use more tyre. That's why I feel like we was robbed a little bit of... I still haven't personally had my question answered of whether the Red Bull is still good on its tyres, because he was under no pressure today. If Norris put Max under pressure and Max was forced to use more tyre, Max may have fallen off of a cliff with his tyres, and not saying he would have fallen into the clutches of Leclerc, but it may have been a comfortable win for Norris. But no, that's not how the win played out today. That's not how the race played out. So, why is Vegas a Saturday race? It's a Saturday race in the US, not us personally in the UK. So it's for me in the UK, it's 4 a.m. Sunday. So they've brought it forward so that it is a Sunday race, Sunday morning race for most Europeans. So basically, the majority of the world experiences it on a Sunday. It is only Vegas and the west coast of the US that experiences it on a Saturday, I believe. Maybe some of America does, but predominantly it's the west coast that will experience it on a Saturday because they've brought the time of it back to like mid-evening time, I think, to ensure that the track temperatures are hotter, or not hotter but warmer, because the track temperatures last year were really cool, and also they want it to be a bit more of a sociable time, I think, for those in the US, because they last year, and I know people that went to the Vegas track and the Vegas race, the grandstands were empty. They were there was not a lot of people in the grandstands. Now, there's a couple of reasons: the cost for one, but also because it was at like midnight. The race was very early, very late at night, and people don't want to go to 10 p.m., 11 p.m. race at night. So yeah, I think that's also the reasons to get more spectators trackside, so it's a more reasonable time, as well as the track condition and yeah, timings and stuff. I don't drink, but I'm never watching this either. In Las Vegas, everything's crazy, insanely crazy, different from the rest of the world. It is. I've never been. I will go one year, but so yeah, that is it for this race, guys. That is it for this race. I don't think there's really too much else to discuss. So the race start, yeah, was a poor start by Lando again, basically. So yeah, let's have a look. Let's have one more rundown of the final standings here. It is Max Verstappen who finished P1. Lando Norris finished 8 seconds behind him in P2. Charles Leclerc P3, a great podium for Ferrari, and a P4 for Ferrari with Lewis Hamilton there. He nearly got caught by Piastri though, with I still yet to see it, of a severe off track in the last couple of corners, it seems. I wonder if he had a tyre issue there, because he nearly got caught by Piastri. George Russell in P6, down 2 places. Yuki Tsunoda up 6 places into P7. Very lucky to get away with moving under braking, as we have reviewed. Nico Hulkenberg up 3 places into P8. Well deserved for Nico. He deserved point scoring finishes after being taken out of P4 yesterday at the start of the sprint race. Ollie Behrman, a great result from him in P9. He was fighting for P7 with Yuki, but yes, had to take avoiding action with Yuki reacting to his move there. Fernando Alonso in P10 started where he finished. Good points for him. Lawson finishes in P11. Stroll P12. Antonelli P13 after a collision with Carlos Sainz, which we also reviewed. Alex Albon in P14, Ocon 15th, Hadjar 16th, Colapinto 17th, Bortoletto 18th, Gasly is 19th, and Carlos Sainz was the only retiree of this race who brought out the early VSC with that collision with Kimi Antonelli. Looking at the overall drivers' standings, well, Oscar Piastri is now on 346 points, but he loses 8 points to his teammate and 15 points to Max Verstappen, 23 over the duration of this weekend to Verstappen. It's not been a good weekend for Oscar at all. That gap now 14 points to his teammate in Lando in P2, and to Verstappen in P3. It's now at 40 points. That gap is closing. Russell stays P4, Leclerc is P5, Hamilton P6. Antonelli stays where he is, as does Albon. Hulkenberg moves up 2 places into P9, with Sainz unable to score any points today, and Isaac Hadjar, so he's on 41. Good for the Hulk to move into the top 10. Alonso stays where he is with a single point. It's tight there between Hulkenberg, Hadjar, Sainz and Alonso. Only 4 points separating them. Lawson stays where he is, as does Ocon, Tsunoda and Gasly. Behrman moves up to a position ahead of Bortoletto due to, as he's now on 20 points compared to Bortoletto's 18. And Colapinto is still yet to score a points. In the constructors standings, Mercedes stay P2. Ferrari have closed the gap. There is only 7 points separating Mercedes and Ferrari now, and well, there's 10 points separating Red Bull to Mercedes. So very tight for P2. Aston Martin stayed where they are, Kick Sauber stayed where they are, and Haas did as well. So yeah. Jarvis, thank you for the 5 gifted, by the way. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, as always. I won't lie, I thought that race was going to be a bit more exciting. I was really excited for this race, and I feel like, as good of a result it was for Charles Leclerc in P3, I feel like he spoiled the party. I feel like he was a bit of an unwanted guest today, even though he's my driver of the day, because it's a bit of a what if Lando and Max Verstappen had fought today. I think we would have seen a repeat of last year. I think we've seen a real good tussle between them, and it would have been interesting with, of course, how we saw the tyres play out. But hey-ho, it is what it is. Max won't complain, that's for sure. I think overall, when Lando sits down on that plane home this evening, well, not that plane home, but off to Mexico, because that's where they go next, I think he'll be sitting there going, yeah, another job done, another good haul of points chipped away at him. I don't think either McLaren driver is still looking at Max. I think they're still looking at themselves, but that gap is now down to 14 points. That is 2-1. That is close. That is getting very close. That could very well switch in Mexico. And Mexico is also another race weekend where we have seen incidents before. So McLaren don't look like they're going to lock out a 1-2, do they? So if that's the case, then both drivers, but more particularly Oscar, has his work cut out for him at the moment, you believe, because Norris is definitely the McLaren driver in the ascendancy, but the driver mostly in the ascendancy is Verstappen after he's just won his third out of the last 4 races. So yeah, keep an eye on him. It's shaping up to be a very good end to the season with 5 race weekends to go. Max was 104 points behind Oscar and 88 behind Norris. What, in the last 4 races after Zandvoort? Unbelievable. How things can swing. Hey, how things can swing. Big thank you as always. Hit that like and subscribe button. Big thank you, and we will see you. I'll try and go live. I'm feeling better now, as I said, so I will get a preview video out for you for the Mexico Grand Prix, and I'll try and go live at some point in the week as well to look forward to the Mexico Grand Prix. I'm sure there'll be, maybe we'll get confirmation of the repercussions from McLaren, and if we do, yeah, we'll go live and chat everything F1. So yeah, big thank you guys. As always, tune into the Missed Apex podcast. I did get invited to be on the podcast this evening, but they're not starting until 11:30. And I've got work tomorrow, and I've just done this stream, and I'm a bit tired. So I'd love to stay up and chat more F1, but yeah, even I need my beauty sleep. Guys, thank you as always. Have a lovely rest of your Sunday. Have a good start to the week, and we'll catch you in the week. And if not, we'll see you next weekend for the Mexico Grand Prix when we go all again. Bye!